Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And we'll take a shot. Wide open is Rodgers, and he's gone. Just like that, Clemson takes the lead.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Receivers into the near side for Martinez, who is getting swallowed up. He loses the football. Scoop and sprint. There goes Kelvin Hart. Touchdown, Illinois.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Looking for the equalizer. He wants it all on one play, and he's got it. Beautifully designed. Ben Sims, the tight end, into the end zone for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Monday, which is the not the first Monday of the college football season. There were a very small handful of games this past weekend. But Baylor starts against Texas State. You've got Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame, Florida State. You've got, some interesting Texas Tech and Houston, of course, of interest regionally, among others. Louisiana at Texas. There's some pretty good games going on this opening weekend of the college football season. I had a chance to sit down with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda earlier today. He had his media session. They released the depth chart. Thank you for those already on YouTube. The chat room is open. 365 Sports and the text line available at 254-339-1122. Hurricane Ida is playing havoc, of course, with a lot of things. Unfortunately, our thoughts and prayers with everybody in its path. But the Oklahoma and Tulane game will not most likely be played in New Orleans, but somewhere, and possibly not played at all. I don't know what they do with that, but all the thoughts and prayers to the people in Louisiana, because they've been hit like this before back, what was it, early, mid-2000s or so?
2005.
Yeah, 2005, 16 years ago. And I remember how that affected people living in East Texas. It became basically the evacuation area and region for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So my college football season ended. That's all I'm going to say. On Saturday afternoon, it's over. We'll hear from Mitch Sherman, theathletic.com, on the dead coach walking, and Scott Frost. Maybe that's a little bit harsh. He'll join us at 4:45, and then we'll clean them up for the rest of the year.
I mean, is it hard? That was pretty hard to watch if you're a Nebraska fan. I don't know what your sense of optimism was coming into the season. It really, took a hit when that NCAA report came out, and it's like, really? Like, we're already breaking rules, and then you see that, and you're like, so what were you working on that entire time? You know what I mean?
The NCAA dropped their investigation after watching them, because obviously they weren't cheating.
They're like, go ahead and cheat some more, because you guys need – I mean, I'm not trying to, bag too much, but, I mean, really, like, you took extra time, and then that's in the product you put out on the field, and – Martinez just hasn't gotten any better.
No.
He's been the same player for
4 years.
For 4 years now. And I remember when all the coaching carousel stuff was going on, and Scott Frost was rumored, just as somebody threw him out there for the Baylor job. I think the second time around when Aranda got hired, maybe, or I don't remember at this point. But regardless, he got thrown out there at one point. I remember being like, he'd be great. Like, I thought he would be awesome. I thought he was really good at UCF. I thought he was going to be a great coach. But I, of course, wanted to see him go back to Nebraska, and he did. And I was happy, and I was excited about it. And Grayson, he never was that high on the hire for whatever reason. But I was, and I'll be the first to say I was totally wrong, because I don't see him turning this thing around. I don't see the time there to turn it around.
You know what? Sometimes I think you can tell a coach deserves more time, not because they're necessarily winning, but they're not losing stupidly. They
exactly.
Like their players are playing, the right way. They're disciplined. They're doing this. They just need to get a couple of athletes. If they got a couple of athletes, you can see they'd be good. My comparison would be to, and I know this is maybe a little more large scale, but Jimbo Fisher at A&M. You saw the first year or so they were losing games that they probably shouldn't have lost, but they weren't losing them stupid. They weren't like, there wasn't stupid stuff going on. With Nebraska, they're still losing, and they're still losing the exact same way. It's not they're losing because they don't have, the two guys that Michigan has that make the difference. They're losing because they just play stupid football.
No, they're a dumb football team, and that is your head coach, and that is your staff, and that is also what happens when you're losing. You suck. And you make stupid mistakes. You catch a punt inside the 2 and go back in the end zone and then try to throw it out. And you fumble with 30 seconds to go and have. We've talked enough about them. Mitch Sherman will join us at 4:45. I know Tim, I think it's Tim, who's an Iowa fan. You had to love it. A lot of people did. They used to dominate college football for 4 decades. And my expectations were get to a bowl game. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't really now care. I do know this. I don't have to now plan. That doesn't mean I love them. I don't have to plan my weekends around when their kickoff time is. And a lot of my weekends are planned based on when Baylor's playing, our pregame show, and this weekend at 4 o'clock as we lead you up to the game against Texas Tech in San Marcos. So enough. I mean, it's just, they're awful. It's sad, and yet again, a lot of people should enjoy it because they hammered people. I don't know how Baylor fans, and I said this on the site, somebody asked me, this has been like 3 or 4 years. I know it's been longer than that, but on and off. How did you do that for 2 decades?
Oh, my gosh. I can't even imagine, for fans that grew up Baylor fans, or if you grew up fans of just programs who have struggled for the majority.
The second year that Reedy was here until Art Browse's third year, Paul?
Or like Vanderbilt fans. I mean, like Derek Mason kind of got you excited for a second, a while back. But, basically you're the doormat of the SEC, which is fine because you're making all that money, and then really your thing is more of the academic side of it. But, for any team out there, just getting – you just know, a bowl game's a great year. That's a phenomenal year to even get to that point, whereas other teams, it's if you don't make it, that's the coach is probably getting fired. And, I can't imagine what that would be like. And, Baylor fans know as well as anybody because they were certainly part of that for the longest time up until, mid-2000s, basically?
And what really happens when it really starts to get sour is when – you cannot get the fans to care about anything.
Well, and that's Nebraska fans too. I don't know what their level is. It sucks. The golden child's home, and you think that's going to be the deal. And kind of like Florida State with Taggart. You got the son's coming home, and sometimes it works out and it's great, and sometimes it doesn't. And I really do hate that it's not working out for Scott Frost in Nebraska. I really wish it would have.
All right, so we'll have Mitch at 4:45. And then Dave Aranda at 4, and then also Alexis Cuban, who once was an intern for us at a radio station in Waco, who's now made it big. She's covering Clemson for the State, the newspaper, after doing some work in Lubbock, up in Lubbock, wasn't it, Paul, for a while, covering Texas Tech and high school football out west. Tanner Mordecai, local name, former Oklahoma quarterback, was named former Midway High School quarterback. We covered him, had a state championship run. Starting quarterback, he was named the starter over freshman Preston Stone. He transferred from Oklahoma, and Abilene Christian is their opening game on Saturday. Well, Tennessee, and one of the quick, Tennessee has named Joe Milton of Michigan, former Michigan quarterback, as their starter. Go ahead, back to Tanner.
Well, okay. Good for Tanner. If he wouldn't have won that job, then, that was basically the end of his college football career, quite honestly, if he couldn't beat out a freshman after transferring. So I'm glad that he got that gig. I expected him to get that gig. And, Preston Stone, I know, was somebody a lot of people had an eye on during his high school years. I'm sure he'll be good in time, but I hope this is the time for Tanner to really sink his teeth in and have an opportunity and, play a whole season and not just, spot duty here and there. But this is his opportunity, so hopefully he takes full advantage of it.
No one will take it more seriously, and no one will work harder. I know that. And he's Tanner in a good way. I said is a football playing robot. He is, task at hand. Let's get this done. Very serious, very deep thinker, and I think he and Sonny Dykes will be a great fit.
All right. Also, this was over the weekend. And if you noticed that Kirby Hocutt's the one who's always being quoted on that subcommittee, the Big 12 subcommittee. And there were thoughts that maybe for some reason, I don't know why he's the one getting quoted quite a bit, but Heather Dinich had a story over the weekend about any kind of direct knowledge of any expansion, whatever, directly contacted any schools about membership. And the comment from Kirby Hocutt was, not to my knowledge, there's nothing imminent. Mac Rhodes will join us, of course, tomorrow with his weekly conversation with us on Tuesday.
Don't you love how people in the Big 12 have to say things, not to my knowledge, instead of saying, not right now, no?
Well, what I did find notable was that he did mention Bob Bowlesby, obviously, being the commissioner, but he also mentioned Oliver Luck a couple of times in those quotes. And, that was out there last week that Oliver Luck was coming into the Big 12 to serve in some capacity. I don't think we really still have a grand idea of what that is, or maybe I've just missed it. But, yeah, he's obviously in the mix, and Hocutt had mentioned him, so we'll see if that matters in the long run or not. But, it's kind of a pause on the realignment stuff. Not that we're going to stop talking about it, or not that there won't be more things that come out. But as far as over the weekend goes, this is the first weekend in, like a month, where there wasn't some kind of a report or some kind of a quote or some kind of something having to do with realignment, which, I guess just means that the season's here now and everybody's got a little bit more on their plate.
From Uncultured Barbarian, $20.
Wow, thank you.
On the Super Chat. I have to disagree here a little bit, but I can't put myself in your position. I knew Nebraska fans that talked mad crap about their team, but they haven't been good. It's been a couple of decades since they played for the national title, and they shouldn't have been in that one. Had a coworker who talked mad smack until the Badgers welcomed them to the Big Ten with a hobnailed boot. I never did. That's one of the things I didn't have to for 40 years. But yeah, there's some of those in every fan base. Somebody, I don't know if it was Jeff Grimm or David Livingston or somebody they said, hire Brett Bielema. That's how they used to play. Now, I don't know, that's a little bit
So they just lost to.
Who they just beat them from Illinois, and that's his first year.
And I'm not sure you want to look at that game and go, like, as much as you should have won that game, that other guy's the one that we won. I don't know about that either, but yeah, that's who they just lost to. So congrats to Brett Bielema on his first win at Illinois. The thing about Nebraska in their golden years was social media wasn't really around for it.
Yeah.
So I don't really remember a whole lot of trash talking, and being in Texas, I didn't come across a whole lot of Nebraska fans, but Nebraska fans didn't really have to say anything for the longest time. It's like, oh, who do you root for? Nebraska. And then it just gets quiet. Because what are you going to say? Okay, cool.
That's why I'm hoping, and I think I did, that I enjoyed it no matter who the fan base. Like Alabama now, okay, they're always going to be good. You never know. They've had their down times too. FSU, Oklahoma in the 90s. But Texas maybe in the last decade and even before that. You enjoy
in the 90s?
Yeah. You enjoy it. And I don't know if I always did. I think I got pretty spoiled, and I got a little bit almost out of control, expecting 56-7 every week. So if you have a team that's good, and some of you do, a lot of you do, enjoy it while it happens, because you never know when it might change.
And don't ever let your identity get lost. That's what happened in Nebraska. When Steve Peterson came in and brought in Bill Callahan took their identity away. Like when you fired Frank Solich, you essentially took Nebraska's identity away and tried to change it. Nebraska was built on, we are big, angry dudes who are going to knock you in the dirt all day long, and we're going to run at you and run at you and run at you. And then understanding that modern football was changing, but they changed so much from what they were. They've never been able, even under Pelini's best years, they were never able to grab that back.
Yeah, they've never had an identity since he left. And I know we don't want to stay on Nebraska too much, but I do have a question. When Frank Solich got fired, how did you feel about that at the time? Were you for or against that?
I was not for it at all. Okay. I think continuity gets you. It doesn't mean that he might have slipped a little bit. Oklahoma. Think about this. Oklahoma and Texas were starting to make their run. Oklahoma just won a national title. And then Nebraska wins, 9 games? And he's gone. And Oklahoma and Texas were really good. Even Texas was trying to make their run at the time. And so continuity allows you to have bumps and bruises, but they don't last as long. And it also means you don't completely shelve things. And so that's that. All right, now, 254-339-1122. We have time for college football throughout the week. throughout the day today as well. We had our first weekend of high school football. We have another one coming up this week. We'll get into a couple of those things. My podcast is on Thursday at noon on YouTube Premiere. Paul will have the big one too. He'll have his fantasy football show this week as well. And so stay tuned for information on a lot of that as well. But the chat room is blowing up. The text line from Matt. Game week. I want to see a new consistent offense. Business as usual defense from Baylor. Able to play backups in the fourth quarter. What are you all looking for?
About that.
That's what you would expect. I don't expect anything the first week other than I want to see a football team that I asked Dave Aranda this question today. How important it is to have some sort of early success and just look like a football team. Managing the clock, minimizing false starts and penalties. Just be a football team.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope by the fourth quarter at least that you're able to start putting some backups in, at some point early on in the fourth quarter. I don't know what to expect either, other than I just assume this is going to be a much better football team based on the things that we've heard and seen change this offseason. I'm very curious as to how Gary Bohannon plays, obviously. Very curious to see the offensive line, how they play, obviously, because those are the two burning questions. Outside of that, I'm just really excited to see this defense in full form, get out there and fly around. That's the thing that I think probably everyone is most confident in is this defense. So looking forward to watching them and just, kind of seeing who's maybe made some strides from last year. But on one side of the ball, you have a whole lot of answers. On the other side of the ball, you got two major questions. And so that's what I'll be eyeing this weekend. And yeah, I wouldn't think it's a game that you're sweating too much in the second half. At least it shouldn't be.
All right, from TJ, they can't watch anymore. Nebraska fans, family lives in Nebraska. Rumors are flying everywhere. Frost is I'm not going to get into that part. Frost is struggling with some personal things. I think he's a dead coach walking. I do. I think right now, and if he can't win there, and Osborne even said that, then I don't know who's going to win there. But good luck to him. Good luck to him. That's who you picked. I thought it was a great move. Everybody else did as well, but it obviously has not worked out, and it's only going to get worse, and it takes 10 years to overcome the trash they've been for the last few years. Phone calls, here we go, Paul.
All right, on the BetUS caller line, let's go to Kurt. Thanks for your call. You're on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Calling you from sweltering Tampa.
I bet.
Here's the deal. Yeah, I'm a Texas grad, and really dirty deeds that were done by the SEC, Texas, and Oklahoma. I really wanted Texas to go to an academic conference like the ACC. They're really slumming it now. But anyway, the bottom line is Big 12 expansion. I want my brothers in the Big 12 to succeed. And I would shoot the moon, guys. I would go 8. Because CBS is going to have a lot of money in a couple years, and they're going to have a lot of time slots to fill on Saturday. And CBS, with all this money, can help them start a Big 12 network, which they don't have. My take on this is BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, Memphis, UCF, USF, Colorado State, and I'm kind of vacillating on the 8th one here between San Diego State and UNLV. San Diego State obviously would get them into the recruiting out there in Cali, and there's a lot of recruits in Southern California. But I really do think they need to shoot the moon. They can rise from the ashes if they make this. And I've heard you guys last week. I think you guys are great. But I'm really thinking you're cutting off your nose to spite your face if you keep barking at Houston, the other 3 Texas schools. You need to keep a grip on the state of Texas, brother. And Houston's the only school that'll help you keep that grip. I mean, everybody, this is for one for all and all for one kind of thing. You need to release that egos in those 3 Texas schools. I really do think so, man. And the other guys have a few warts, but Tulane and anybody that says Boise State, it doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Okay, because that's just a flash in the pan. I'm an underdog kind of guy. But their time has come and gone. But those are my takes on those guys. Help me with San Diego State or UNLV. What do you think about which one would you...
Sorry about that.
I want to do the thing with, first of all, there's Caden Grace, who's on the chat room a lot, sent me an email, and it is incredibly lengthy and it's thorough, about Houston and SMU and his thoughts about it. And he's been in this situation before when he was once at a school that was going through the possibility of realignment, that he saw a lot of what was said. I cannot read all of it. I've asked Caden to reach out to me with his number. I may even have him on for a segment. His email was that thorough and that informative. So, Caden, I'm talking to you if you want to text us your number.
As far as UNLV and San Diego State, if it came down to me, I'm going with UNLV just because that market is emerging and growing, and it's a huge TV market now. And I know that's not as big of a deal, but UNLV is a bigger school than San Diego State, I believe. San Diego State, we had a question on the text line, too, about San Diego State or Fresno State. Those two schools don't do anything for me outside of, getting a nice trip to San Diego every couple of years, for your football team. I don't think they're really doing anything for me.
Yeah, San Diego State would be cool just because of the location. That's basically about it. I mean, that's all you would be bringing in would be location. I don't think you're really bringing in any value. I don't think you're bringing in any extra value, certainly, and you're not bringing in really like a solidly winning program year in and year out with a bunch of tradition. I mean, that'd be a fun road trip, but that's about it. I don't know really what it would do to help stabilize them in particular, at least. As far as the ego thing, what you heard us talking about was not reporting what other schools were saying. What you heard us talking about was simply saying that from a competitive standpoint, you would not want SMU and Houston in the Big 12 if you are Baylor, Texas Tech, and TCU. However, we've also said that if that's the move that you need to make, and I said this on Friday, I think multiple times about Houston, is like, I wouldn't want to do it, but if it's the move that you have to do, then so be it. I'll explain one final time the reason why I say from my vantage point you would not want to do it is because of recruiting and because of elevating two brands who are currently below you and now bringing them up to your level, therefore making it more competitive for you, whereas right now as a Power 5 you have an advantage over Houston and SMU. You would no longer have that advantage. That's where I'm coming from. There's been no egos or people from the state of Texas that have actually said that. That was just us conversing on potential candidates. Our buddy, what was his name? Zach, Run It Back with Zach. He did that valuation on all the programs. Well, he's redone it. He added some new metrics, and he put together the top 84 teams, the most valuable college football programs, and Ohio State's number 1. You got Texas at 8, Oklahoma 10, so on and so forth. But if you go all the way down to the bottom, you've got at 80 out of 80 or 79 out of 84. Actually, I'll go up 78 out of 84. Colorado State 78, San Diego State 79, SMU's 80, UNLV's 82, Tulane's 83, Tulsa's 84. So they don't really bring a whole lot of value. I do understand though your point on if you kind of bring in all of the state of Texas and suddenly do have that monopoly over the rest of the state. And that would make sense to have Dallas market and Houston market with SMU and Houston. I just don't know, people are talking about markets and things like that, but this isn't what it's about, though. That's the thing, guys, is it's not about the location. It's not about the geography. It's not about the rivalries. It's about the money. And so a lot of these schools that are being suggested, and even the leftovers, they don't bring in the money, obviously. That's why they're having to look for outside-the-box additions. And the thing is there's not a lot of them that are very valuable. That's why you keep hearing the same teams, BYU, Houston, et cetera, so on and so forth. So hopefully that kind of explains a couple of things that you touched on there.
On a text on the call, and thanks for the call, if the Big 12 adds another Texas school, the college football world will be laughing at us. This is from Todd. Even more, we need to bring in new states besides one. How about growing the fan bases there currently?
Now, that's, as far as location goes, that does matter in location, is you would want to go outside and all of a sudden have a presence in a new state rather than be redundant and just add more schools within the same state in the same location that aren't really bringing in new fans.
Bringing in 8 teams, though, you have to have some dudes, and there's not many dudes because you're talking about you're not going to have as much money, and you're not going to split that among 8, but 10 or 12 or 16 teams, and that's going to be hard to fathom or even to digest unless it saves you and remains you as a Power 5 type autonomy school. Paul?
I do think there's this craving for the old SWC to come back, but that didn't work for a reason, so let's not go back in time. All right, Armstrong's going to have to put the shot clock up, so you're going to have to hear the buzzer because we have 4 calls on the line we got to get to. So you're on, just callers know, you're on the shot clock. The buzzer is not personal. It is necessary for us to continue to move through and keep the show moving. Howard in Oregon. You're on that U.S. caller line on Sick'em 365 Radio.
Hey, guys, good to talk to you again. Hey, I just wanted to clear something up. That rooster is not my rooster.
Okay.
It's my neighbor's.
Okay, good.
All right. Hey, I wanted to mention two things. That caller on San Diego State and UNLV, that's the worst. I don't want to disparage another caller, but that's the worst suggestion I've ever heard. Anybody on the West Coast that's a top player wants to play in the Pac. UNLV is a good basketball school. Football, forget it. They're like New Mexico. Now, I want to talk about Nebraska is what I really wanted to talk about. At one time, this is my personal opinion, okay? At one time,
All right.
You got a 15-second. You had 15 seconds, Howard. Go ahead.
Okay, was one of the front runners in college sports, and now everybody's got the same stuff, and they're turning Martinez into what Khalil Tate was. They're trying to make him into a drop-back passer, and that guy can run and throw. They ruined Khalil Tate. He was going to be a high.
All right, here's the thing about Adrian Martinez. He's soft. He may be the toughest guy in the world. I'm just telling you, the fumble at the end of the half, that he's a turnover-ridden machine. He has done that throughout his entire career. He can run, and he had the 75-yarder, but he is, when it comes to contact, it seems to me, you look at what Sam Ehlinger did when he took on people. Now, eventually it wore him down. Even Charlie Brewer, who's so much smaller, would run through people. Yeah, we know what might have happened there. Adrian Martinez is not a very physical runner and looks to me to be soft. I'm not saying soft as a person, soft as someone with the football in his hands.
I think the worst kind of quarterback is the one who can simultaneously keep you in and out of the game at the same time. I'd rather just have a guy that's terrible.
Yep.
So I know what to feel. All right, let's go to Chris in Missouri. You're on Sikkim 365 Radio. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys, great talking to you. Hey, I know we talk a lot about the value that these expansion teams could bring. I think Bowlesby could do a world of good for the Big 12 and himself if he builds this as an injection of new blood for whoever he brings in. You know, we talked about Tampa, for South Florida, Orlando for Central Florida, Cincinnati. All those places have major airports, and, you've got things you can do if you see the game, maybe see the city. The Big 12 should rebrand itself as a new conference with a brand new feel. We're giving football back to the football fans. I don't know what he's going to do, but that's at least what I'm hoping. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I think that, like I said on Friday, there's a great opportunity here to, be be innovative, to be on the cutting edge as far as thinking outside the box a little bit and creating something new, and a feisty conference that maybe doesn't have as many big names but has a great brand of football and a lot of geography to it and interesting matchups. And I think you can manage that. You can freshen it up and make it new. It's not going to pull eyeballs immediately like the SEC or the other conferences do, because these aren't a lot of big brands. But I do think if you add the right combination of teams, you can have a league that'll be really fun, that'll be more competitive to watch than even some of the major ones on any given weekend. So yeah, I'm all for them just being proactive and trying to take advantage of this opportunity. Like, you're not going to get this opportunity again, most likely.
Which may mean you cannot just jump out and do. You have to make. It's hard. You have to be patient, thorough. But when you make the next decision, whatever it might be, it has to go. People have to go, whoa. Not a wow factor, but something like, man, that makes sense. That might work.
I do want to mention that the Zach Links, he put together the Big 12 schools, and he put together the remaining non-Power 5 schools, and he put them on a list, and this is football only. He did valuations, and the top four teams would be West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and TCU. Then BYU would be fifth if they entered. Then Iowa State, Baylor, K-State, and Kansas. So BYU would be the only one to break up and have more of a value than any of the current Big 12 schools. And then after that, he has UCF, Boise State, Houston, Memphis, so on and so forth. So just a look at his valuations he put together.
On a UCF note, there's another super chat from Alberto. UCF has the 9th most televised game since 2018, only behind dogs, Alabama, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, Auburn, and Florida. The networks know value, and yet no one's really been beating down their door, but they're in the discussion. There's no question about it. They're in the discussion.
Well, and going back a couple callers ago, he brought up UNLV, and that was a school we started to mention on Friday a little bit. I just don't know where they are academically, and their football program is nothing to really get too excited about. I mean, basketball historically, they've had a time, but outside of that, I mean, the reason UNLV is attractive has nothing to do with anything the school's ever done, really. It's all just because of the city that they're in, right? So geographically, yeah, you'd love to get into Las Vegas because it's exploding. It's like the fastest growing city in America now, or one of them. But I just don't know that they have the cachet or the pull or the history or the stuff you're really looking for at UNLV, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're a fun school to think about because of the Vegas factor, but outside of that, I don't know that they really bring too much to you outside of the Vegas factor.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right, Steven from Virginia on the BetUS caller line. Steven, always great to talk to you.
Hey, guys, I wanted to say that I think whatever ends up being more profitable for the remaining 8 schools, whether it's getting picked apart and all of them join the other 4 super conferences and whatever time that is, or you add, I think you can only add 4 schools, but whatever's more profitable, I think that's what you end up doing for everybody. And if you're going to add 4 schools, I think you add Boise and BYU because it gives each other natural rivals, and I think those are objectively the best non-Power 5 football programs of the last 15 years. And then I think you extend east to Cincinnati and Memphis to give West Virginia some semblance of some rivalry and 2 destination cities for Big 12 fans to go instead of Ames or Morgantown, and 2 schools with basketball programs.
Real quick, 10 seconds.
And listen to the Believe podcast. Later, guys.
Thank you very much, Stephen. We love you, buddy, in Virginia. 3:31 is the time. We break here. We have to break here. When we come back, more of your calls, text, chat room. A lot of you. There's so much to get to. A lot of it college football, of course. I want to get into what I saw yesterday on the PGA Tour. An amazing finish to that tournament. We'll do that randomly later on. And Armstrong, do you have the picture of the UCLA home crowd that we can show in the next segment? I sent that to you as UCLA was playing a home game. This is one of the, Alpha Dogs. I don't think of UCLA as a blue blood in college football. We know in basketball for the years, and hell, last year's team was great, really good. I'm going to show you when you talk about schools and where they are and fan bases. There's a picture we'll show you in the next segment. Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Items of the week, Waco Custom Marketplace. Tailgating starts this week. In fact, whole chickens for $1.20 a pound at Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco. Country-style ring sausage, $2.79 a pound. Hot links, baby back ribs, tri-tip. All of these have special prices per pound, and 10 pounds of hamburger patties, perfect for a tailgate, $32.90 for 10 pounds of hamburger patties. Also, 2 pounds of $21.25 easy peel shrimp for $11.50. And the baby back ribs, by the way, $5.75 a pound. And it's Waco Custom Marketplace where you get your steaks cut. They have a bakery, fresh baked bread, and kolaches every day. And seafood, poultry, pork, and beef at your convenience of what you want at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Craig?
Yeah, I was just looking up stuff on UNLV. I noticed that they're R1 status school, so that would allow them to, qualify for the Pac-12, or at least one of the Pac-12, or was that the Big Ten that was the R1? The Big Ten was the big R1, but I think Pac-12 as well, so they would fit as far as that goes. But it was just interesting because I was looking around during the commercial break and stumbled on an article from about 5 years ago from the last round of realignment when the Big 12 went and met with a bunch of schools or talked to a bunch of schools, and from the Las Vegas Review-Journal back then, when UNLV got cut, it talked about like all the work they were doing. The Raiders had the new stadium coming in. They were working to be an R1 or whatever, and all that. But it did make mention that the last time around, and maybe this is just food for thought, 6 to 8 schools were still being considered towards the end of Big 12 realignment. That was BYU, that was Cincinnati, that was Houston, Memphis, UConn. Safe to say they're not going to be a part of it anymore. South Florida and Central Florida. And then Colorado State apparently had advanced to that final group as well. UNLV did not. So it was just, that was back then. I know a lot's changed, especially in Vegas in 5 years, but that was the last time the Big 12 and UNLV, approached each other in any way.
All right, Paul, back to the calls. Have we got them? 254-339-1122 and a couple of text messages based on what we heard from you in the first segment.
Owen in Virginia, you're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Thank y'all. I to one of the callers, and I'm like Howard from Oregon. I don't want to, go kind of rage on one of the callers, but I don't really agree with the 16 team. I think it waters it down a little bit. I think you go 4 at the most. But if the Big 12 wants to go big or go home, I think you grab 1 or 2 top teams from each Group of 5 conference, so that way they can compete, competition-wise, and just maybe rename it, go east to west, call it the Great American Conference, and add teams like Cincinnati, UCF, UAB, Louisiana, Lafayette. I'd kind of like to see Marshall just because I think they're a better Conference USA team.
Here's somebody else, I don't know if it was you, mentioned Marshall. And I'm not trying to be cruel here. I think of 2 things when I think of Marshall. I think of Randy Moss, and I know that they have been in a national championship spotlight before they got to the FBS, and an unimaginable tragedy of an airplane. And that doesn't mean they haven't had some success, but I don't think if I would have had 50 teams for me to name that would be involved, with all due respect, Marshall would not have been. I don't think I could have even remembered them. And that's not to be like negative to Marshall. It's just that's my first thought. I'm sure there's other ways to be able to say that otherwise.
Chad Pennington, Byron Leftwich, I also think of. I do think of that tragedy. It's not the first thing that comes to mind. Fortunately, that is Randy Moss for me, but that also has nothing to do with them being considered or not. But they're just not a big enough school. They don't have a reach. They don't have, long-standing success. They don't have, they just don't have the things that I think you're looking for, basically. So it's a nice thought, but I don't see them in any way, shape, or form being considered at all.
If the University of West Virginia has a hard time making their case, I mean, they don't. But I mean, if they're one of these schools that's hoping for a home in a Power 5 permanently, then Marshall, which is a much smaller school.
Marshall, if the AC loses some of their teams, that's where you would think perhaps they would end up.
Yeah.
Somebody just put that up on the chat room.
Yeah, they would maybe go a step up, but they're not going a step up to Power 5. I wouldn't think anytime soon, if ever. But, as far as your thoughts on the expansion and the number of teams, that was one thing from our previous caller that I didn't get to touch on because he made a lot of different points. And was talking about going all the way to 16. I mean, I'm not entirely opposed to it, but I don't know what that does to the money. That's, again, what's going to boil down to. They're going to add however many teams make sense to add based on the money. So if 4 teams and you're going to, probably drop down a little bit in profit, you still maybe do it because of the future outlook or whatever. But, if 4 teams sinks you, then you're certainly not adding 6 and 8. And, you're not going farther and farther down in the money pool. You're trying to go back up as high as you can. So you're adding who can add value now or soon. And I don't think you're wasting any time on somebody who's not bringing something to the table in the next, 5 to 10 years, which would be several of these candidates, quite honestly.
Yeah. All right, T-Rex, you're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. Craig, you keep talking about, why Houston and SMU, et cetera, shouldn't be in. I 100% agree, and these people keep clamoring about it. They just don't understand facts. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So just don't even waste your breath anymore. They add no value, and that's just what it is. Also, I just want to know what y'all's preferred ratio of orange juice to champagne is on mimosa, so I know how to put that together on Saturday. See y'all in San Marcos, Sick 'em Bears. I'm going to go eat a grilled cheese sandwich.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Percentage of champagne orange juice.
I think it should be a good 75%, 25%.
75% was the champagne?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of put a little flavor in there with
just
the orange juice?
a little splash of OJ to make it look like there's something else in there. Yeah.
T-Rex is always thinking. He's always thinking about that.
T-Rex, I'm not at adamant against those folks who keep suggesting those schools. I mean, the Houston thing makes sense, and I get it. But I'm going to keep, saying my point on this is it's not anything against them. It's not that I don't think they would add value. I'm not sure whether they would or not. It's just that I'm not sold on it actually being good for the remaining schools. Yeah, you're going to do what you have to do to make the Big 12 work, right, guys? I mean, everybody's going to do that amongst these 8 schools. But are you really going to work so hard to make it work that the new Big 12 isn't actually as beneficial to you as it was before? Mm-hmm. I mean, if I'm Baylor and TCU and Texas Tech, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, but, it might not be their call at the end of the day, but that's 3 schools who, if I'm them, I have no interest in another Texas school being a part of the party unless they just make so much sense that you can't make an argument against it. But I'm making an argument against it, so I would love to hear Houston's, but this is why it would still make sense. So we'll see. That's what they're telling the Big 12.
From Eric on that should be champagne with a splash of OJ or cranberries.
Yeah.
Look, Guest Barbecue does one that's pineapple. And I find that lovely.
Now, we love every single text, opinion, question, or whatever you bring our way. But sometimes, again, these are questions I want everyone to understand. For example, from the 318, I don't think it's possible, but why not try to convince a school like Mississippi State or Vanderbilt? Why would they leave the SEC? Yeah. 50+ million, about to be 60 or 70, whatever it's going to be. They run college football right now. They're in a conference where they're fortunate because, unlike the Big 12 that likes to sit there and go, you're not good enough, the SEC doesn't do that with Vanderbilt or Mississippi State or whoever else. They have the biggest egg cocoon and nest ever.
Well, Vanderbilt
no way.
Vanderbilt would completely fall off the map entirely without SEC status.
So I understand the question, but
you'd see them maybe in the College World Series still, but even then, like not being in the SEC, they would probably knock that down a peg too. So they would be the biggest fools on earth to think they have any thoughts of even tinkering with the idea.
Let's just be generous on what the money's going to be for the new Big 12 and say it's $25 million a year.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what would be on
super generous.
The back end of it. Like they're probably looking at 20, but let's say it's $25 million for the new Big 12 contract, which I would say is not completely unreasonable given the fact that they could grow their, into some big markets. But I do think that right now you're looking at if you were trying to get them now and saying the difference between $40 million and $48 million, okay, well, maybe they would do that if that meant they would win more, but that's not what it is. Now it's the difference between $50+ million and maybe $60 million with what's going to happen in the new SEC in 20 to 25. So you're telling them that $40 million a year to maybe win a couple more games. It's not like
20 to 25 is only for the next 5 years because it's not going to be 20 to 20. Somebody put out a valuation of what they thought it looked like post Oklahoma and Texas, and it was closer to 10.
Yeah.
So no way somebody's leaving the Big Ten or the SEC right now or anytime in the future, and possibly the other ones as well. It's just.
But we're winning.
Yeah. But I thought the best chance for that to happen was with this Big Ten talk about the possibility of them going and poaching, some Pac-12 schools. And there was that out there briefly for a few days. And I thought, man, that's probably not going to happen. But if there were ever to be a situation that would allow for just chaos to ensue, that would have been it. That would have been it. Because then you would have had the Pac-12 scrambling. Maybe they align with the Big 12 and just melt together. That would have been chaos. But because that did not happen, and now you've got this, and now you've got the alliance. You're either on one side or the other, or you're the Big 12 and you're stuck in the middle with no life rafts right now. So you're not jumping off that safe ship to go, swim with the sharks and just hope that you land in a better spot ultimately. That just wouldn't make any sense for those involved.
From Greg, I just lost the name on Gregory Krug. I think the Big 12 should add 8 schools or change the name. Yeah. The name is cursed.
They have to change the name. I'm all for that. Absolutely.
Back to the calls, Paul. 254-339-1122. Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach. My one-on-one with him from earlier today at 4 o'clock.
To the 405. You're on the Bet US caller line. The call screen failed.
Is that Oklahoma?
He texted us, so go ahead. Yes. Who we got?
Hey, my name's Kevin.
Go ahead, buddy. Thanks for the call.
I wanted to talk about Houston.
All right.
Look, the priority for the Big 12, in my opinion, has got to be that you've got to get somebody besides Oklahoma in the playoffs to win a playoff game. So you need to get quality football programs, people like Brigham Young, Boise State, and Houston. Houston can gear up quickly, and the only excuse I'm hearing is that, we're afraid they're going to be too good and they're going to beat us.
You're not hearing it right on my end.
I just responded to your text. I got your text. I think it was from you as well. Thanks for the call, first of all. I have not heard anyone say, and this is for anyone, I would not mind Houston. I don't care who's in the conference as long as they somehow can stay as a Power 5, as somebody that covers them. But we're going to cover them if they were Division III. It does change. we're not saying that anybody would be afraid of Houston.
No.
What we're saying is you open the door up to a team within your own state who now can sit there and tell their story better than perhaps they can right now.
But maybe they also don't beat you.
But someone
maybe
also
you make all 4 teams worse.
Yeah.
No, everyone just kind of levels out. Maybe you go up. One of the other things I saw was that I'd rather lose a recruit to Houston to lose it to somebody outside of the state. Well, not if that's who you're competing against.
Yeah, I mean, and either way, you're losing them. So, I mean, that's the thing. I think that maybe you're just hearing it differently than we're saying it, because I definitely not coming from the standpoint of being scared of Houston or worried about what Houston would do wins-wise. I want winning teams in the Big 12. I don't want to add losers. That's just going to bring the conference down. So the fact that they are a winning program is a benefit, not something that would scare me off, or I would think would scare off the Big 12. I mean, shoot, they'd like to add as many good teams as they possibly can. My only argument against Houston, my only thing, and I'm the one that's been saying this for the last couple weeks now, is if I'm Baylor or TCU or Texas Tech, why would I welcome Houston in? I'm not worried about them beating me. I'm worried about all of a sudden I lose my pull in Houston because I'm a Big 12 school that can go into Houston and say, we're in the Big 12. We're going to play this team and that team and this team every year. We're a Power 5. Whereas now you go into Houston and the hometown school's already Power 5. They're right there with you. So it's you can just stay home and play in the same league with the same teams against the same coaches and players. So your pull is gone. And if you add SMU on top of that, well, that's Dallas and Houston. You're doing it for TV markets, but you're actually killing your in-state programs. And yes, well, you got to go win those recruiting battles. But they're battles that are easier won if you're not dealing with those hometown schools in those 2 major markets. That's my whole point on the thing.
I also think there's still some bitterness like there was from TCU, from SMU and Houston fans because they were left out. And I get that part of it. Here's from the 901. Why would anyone want to join the Big 12 from any conference right now? Because no one knows if they'll be around in the next couple of years. And that's a valid point, too. And, of course, they're trying to prevent that. 254-339-1122. Hold on. Armstrong, you hear about Power 5 schools. You hear about who's protected. You hear about, UCLA is in L.A., right? And they have been on and off as a football team for a long, long time. At times, they've been pretty good. There's been some pretty decent UCLA teams. We saw Baylor play them in the Holiday Bowl after the 2-12 season, and they crushed them physically. But there's a there's a picture of their game they just played. This is UCLA, right, Paul? This is a public school or a private school?
It's a public school.
Public school in L.A. Don't let that fool you. I know that's a huge stadium. I understand that's L.A. That's what, is it 100,000 or whatever it is? There might be 5,000 people in that stands. Might be. And that's UCLA.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'll say on their attendance is I don't think it would have been much better without COVID, but it's COVID in California. So, I understand your point, and I understand that UCLA is not selling that bad boy out on a regular basis regardless. But I'm willing to give them a little, space here because of the fact that, it's COVID. Nobody's wrung their hands more than than the state of California has from beginning to now. I mean, that's been one state that's been, pretty stringent the entire time. So I'm sure that played into it. And I saw the typical, the beach is right across, the beach is right down the road or whatever. And there's some of that too. But yeah, I mean, it's COVID era, so it's kind of hard to bag on too many crowds.
One of the stories in the Daily News, they announced a crowd of 32,000.
Well, that's not true.
Sweltering Saturday, temperatures in the high 90s.
Oh, please.
What in the hell is the temperature anywhere
right now? Come stand out right
Except
where we
in
are.
New Orleans, and that's going to be sweltering and humid because of what they just dealt with, and eventually it'll be 95 or 100 there too. Hey, I don't have anything against UCLA. I just thought that sometimes you think about the size of the schools and stuff like that, and there's other schools that will have that kind of problem as well. Paul, break and come back to close out the hour.
Yep.
All right, we've got a lot to get to. Dave Aranda at the top of the hour. We'll have more feedback as well from your calls and text messages. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Woodway Family Center hosting clinics at the parks this fall. 4 weeks, 2 days a week. Woodway residents get a discount. More great coaches that are a part of these as well. Not just people walking off the street, but those who have played the game or been a part of it at the collegiate level and sometimes even at a professional level. Flag football at Whitehall Park, 5 to 10-year-olds. 8 to 11-year-olds with sand volleyball at Pogue Park, and also more sports coming. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more information. And they just had the Woodway Wine and Food Fest that just took place. All sorts of, it was sold out. Music, wine tastings, delicious food samples, and they'll have more of that coming up as well. Download the Discover Woodway app in the App Store and Google Play, a community that boasts breathtaking beauty, close proximity to premier shopping and numerous restaurant options, and of course, right around the corner from Baylor University, just 7 miles from Baylor and the Magnolia Silos. It's Woodway Family Center. Clinics at the parks this fall. Go to discoverwoodway.com.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, some of those on the text line, chat room, and much more. We'll close out this 3 o'clock hour. Dave Aranda coming up next. Wake on the chat room. TCU and Baylor don't want U of H because they're threatened. Texas Tech wants U of H to join. They've won 8 of 9. Wake mentioned that. I have not. There's a lot of things that because, and I had somebody email me this. When we say something, you hear what you want to hear, and that's part of a show. It's kind of like reading something. You don't read every word. That happens a lot now with social media. Someone may say something on a pregame show or a postgame show or during the game. I have not heard anybody say that they are afraid of Houston. I think what they're doing is being smart and calculative to make sure that's the right decision. If, in fact, they bring enough to keep the conference together by adding them, they will be added. Period. It's not because they're afraid of the territory or the recruiting or whatever, or playing them at all. For one, I'm cool with it. I really don't care.
I don't know where this narrative's coming from.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Weird.
But Wake, thanks, and good luck against Houston. In fact, this weekend, that's one of the games here in opening week of the season.
Yeah, I don't know why today, there's suddenly been that thought process that there's this fear or something. We've never said that, and none of us believe that either. So I don't know if that's coming from some just article in the UH fan base or something. I don't know what it's coming from, but that's twice now, and again, that's not what we're saying at all.
No, and again, there's a risk of maybe Houston makes your conference better. Maybe Houston dilutes it a little bit, and then all 4 teams kind of lose out. Houston doesn't get the bump that they think they're going to get, and the rest of the schools lose enough guys to Houston where the talent gets diluted. Because honestly, you can make Houston a Big 12 school, but if Texas A&M, or LSU ask you, or Oklahoma, you're probably going there first.
From Carl Adams, the state of Texas can support Houston as well. They will be recruiting against Texas and A&M. Someone will make big money from NIL starting at Houston rather than riding the bench at Texas. I'm not sure if that's particularly true, but Dennis Moore, greetings from Wilmington, North Carolina, born in Texas, Baylor 87, leaving Houston out of the Big 12 feels a little like the other Power 5 conferences leaving the Big 8 out, and how you might feel when you are left out. So there's a lot of others, not just Houston or SMU or whoever, that feel left out. Hell, 8 teams in the Big 12 right now might feel the same way as well. And the one thing you need is everybody trying to be together, and the Big 12 has never proven that they can ever be that way. It's like when Mack Rhodes and Kirby Hocutt and the others were named to this subcommittee, this little cute subcommittee. I'm not trying to make fun of it. And then other schools who had no ADs or presidents a part of it, they're like, oh, my God.
Yeah, but
instead of what just may be best for the conference.
But you've got to just understand that fans are not schools, okay? The worst Bowling Green fan is not emblematic of Bowling Green's fan base entirely. You know what I mean? So you're getting the 2 or 1 or 2 negative Nellies and thinking that's, kind of, because I saw that too. And that was 1 or 2 people, I don't think that was the general feeling, but there was a couple why is our AD not on? And it's because they don't need every AD, because otherwise they would have invited every AD. It's a working committee, but there's so many complaints and things that it's just that's a nothing burger.
All right, when we come back, it's the opening week, full week of college football after some of the games over the weekend. When we come back, my conversation every other Monday with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda, who had his media session, and then we'll get more of your calls, questions, and opinions on the chat, the calls, and also text line. Armstrong Sims running Mothership, flying solo today. Jack McKenzie's on location with a project. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. We love you. Appreciate your time. Sikkim 365 Radio.
All right, there's going to be a test at the end of this live endorsement for BetUS. So I'm going to ask you to remember the promo codes, Sikkim125 and Sikkim200. So just remember those promo codes. But why BetUS? Well, they've been serving clients for 25 plus years and prides itself on being known as America's favorite sports book. With action on every sport across the world, we can pretty much guarantee that we've got your game, and BetUS offers the industry's biggest retail bonuses to keep their players betting longer, and the BetUS loyalty program is legendary. They keep their players up to date with articles, players, team stats, and trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decisions. BetUS.com. Again, promo code SICK'EM125. I should said there's test. I didn't do that. I gave you the answers again. That's the kind of guy I am. Promo code SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM200. 125% bonus on cash with a deposit of $100 or more. 200% bonus on crypto with a deposit of $100 or more. So remember those promo codes, SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM200. BetUS.com.
Make This a Summer event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L, now arriving and in stock. This beautiful, rugged third-row seat carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, with values of $3,500 or 0% for 48 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneeredboys.com.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Purdy escapes, throws downfield, and intercepted. Jalen Barnes comes
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, with me. David Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio. Can you try to even explain the night and day of where you are as a program as you enter this first game compared to a year ago?
I feel really good where we're at. I appreciate that question. I look back to last year and a lot of hard lessons, a lot of things that I'm proud of. A few things I sure wish I could have done better, but I've learned from. And I think when you can stand in maybe that shame or embarrassment or that learning space, you can get better. And so I think I feel stronger now sitting here with you because of the standing in that space and looking at all of that failure kind of face to face, back then. And so when you can own stuff and admit to it and then work on it, you can grow from it. And so really excited about just moving forward. But yeah, there's quite a bit of difference from now to then.
Shame and embarrassed, that's a pretty strong word. Were there nights where you didn't sleep or just
yeah. So I think all that you go from you always have high expectations of yourself, and you always work to achieve. And I think not always knowing, there's things, I think, especially in a new role, as much as you work, I think that's one of my key learnings is, when Jeremiah Dickey went to Boise State and they hired a new coach, and almost really kind of in a similar path as me, and so talked to him when he accepted a job. And one of the things I said to him is, no matter how much you prepare, there's going to be stuff that is going to, you're not going to be ready for. And you just have to, you can't take it personal, right? You just have to learn from it, and you got to own it. And you have to be the face of it and grow from it. Otherwise, everyone's watching. And so that, whatever you say you're going to be is one thing. It's really how you handle those moments. That's what it is. And so that would be a key learning from last year to this.
Did you ever say, man, I may not be able to do this? Did that ever come into play?
No. I just wish that there would be things that when it was defensive coordinator and it was linebacker coach and it was more technical football, just so much time spent on the technical part. And when you get to this chair, very, very limited, if any, technical aspects to it. Very limited, much more people and people. And so I think, I wish, in terms of your question, I wish some of those previous years and learnings was less technical and more people.
You have been called a deep thinker. You can philosophize. You do a lot of that. Do you feel like sometimes you've had to learn if anyone's listening or understanding you? Mm-hmm. Because you do look at things in a lot of times a very deep space.
Yeah, no, I do. I think I joke about it with the staff or with our players, And so I try to use movie clips quite a bit, or maybe some game example or metaphor somehow is usually the best ways. If I get to talking too much, then I could have a negative effect on what I was trying to communicate.
The day before your scrimmage a week ago, not last weekend, but the week, not the thing that, but the week you said, I asked you weren't ready to name a starter, and I asked you if you played tomorrow, would you have one? And you said no. And I don't know what that, that means you didn't know at that time. So obviously Gary was he the leader in the clubhouse? You just needed to see him validate that?
Yes. Yeah, I think that second scrimmage was one where it was, I thought, well, let me go back. I think the first scrimmage was, the first time it was live for the entire practice. I think we had 2 or 3 live periods prior to that, but it was the first time it was live. It was the crossing the bridge for the first time, kind of the stage in a limited way, but the biggest stage at that point. I think the second scrimmage was our final one, and really it was taking the lessons from the first and, having the ability to see really what you're going to see from the defense. There's not new things still coming at you. And so can you take what you've learned, process it, and go? And so that second scrimmage was really a big piece.
How did the teammates react to him? Not that they aren't supportive of Blake or Jacob or Kyron or whoever else, but how did the teammates react to that? Was there any kind of a pulse there? And how did the others react to the decision?
They're very excited for Gary. And, I give a lot of credit to Sean for the way Jacob has been and Blake has been and Kyron. It's hard for Kyron. Kyron's been, his high school career has been the guy, and now he's here and there's a competition and he's kind of on the outside of it, and so it's hard to process that. And Kyron's been great, and so I think Sean, and one of the benefits of being a former player at that position is just knowing all that goes into it, and just the attitudes and the mental headspace that and how turbulent that can be with good and bad. And so I think Sean has been able to navigate it great. The team really took to Gary, and so it was good to see.
You made emphatic, quick decisions on your staff as soon as the season was over last year, and now that has, of course, been changed into the new coming coaches in the offense, and Jeff and Eric and obviously Sean and Chancey and Kevin, all of them, You feel like this staff is on one page, that that also was part of what you wanted to see?
I do. I think, there'd be people that, and there would be, maybe analysts, or it would be GAs, but just throughout the years, whether it was Wisconsin or LSU, there would be hirings that I would make, right? And I just remember as you go through that, I think so much of it was, I just go back in my frame of mind at that point. It was all about, coach over person. And so it was like, he's from this school. He was taught by this guy. He knows this system, right? He can be in the booth and make these judgments because he was trained that way. And so, I don't know, it was a pretty high, looking back, I didn't really see like a misjudgment in hiring guys. And so you could infer from that you have a knack at that, and then to be in this role, it is the view is the person is more important than the coach, or more important than the player, and that makes hiring so incredibly more complex and difficult when you're really looking for that right fit and that right type of communication and that right heart set and that right level of empathy for other people and kind of selfless leader. And so almost two different worlds, right? One has nothing to do with the other. And so I think there's a fair amount of learning from me just in that respect, but I feel like we've got some really good dudes on this staff, and we've worked really hard that they all respect and know each other.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, a couple more questions. Last year was mentally and physically tough. Mm-hmm. Which are you stronger today as a football team, mentally or physically? Because you changed that strength and conditioning as well, but they went through a lot.
I think we're both. I know it's a good question. I think we're both. I think the strength piece is important because I think it gives guys confidence and it gives them challenges where they've got to exert and they've got to sacrifice and they've got to push themselves, and then they have to encourage and help their teammates. And then I think the mental side of it is going to be, I'm the whatever number head coach, right? Grimes and Roberts are the whatever number coordinator, right? Eric Mateos is the whatever number O-line coach. And so for us as coaches now to see that is the reality, and that it ain't all about you, dude, as a coach coming in here saying, I want this, I want that. You need to know where they're coming from, and this is their experience, and they ain't just going to take to you because, they had this dude last year, and now who's to say you ain't going to be here, right? And so, to understand that and approach it in a way that you're connecting as people and not as a player and coach, I think is way strong. And I think their mental space is stronger because of it.
You now have a win-loss record. You've never had that before as a coordinator, even though you were attached to the great success in places in the national title, Wisconsin, etc. Mm-hmm. What's it like that you have a record, like win-loss record next to your name?
Yeah, I've never looked at it, which is probably good.
Well, I mean, a lot of,
which is probably good. But I didn't
bring it up like that.
No,
but
I know, but I never look at it. And, I think there's, I think whether it was at the coordinator spots too, I think I've always, so like when I go home to my house, so like my wife's up there, my daughter is to my right, my two girls and my son. And so when I go home, it's like, Dave, did you bring the trash can in? Dave, say hi to Jalen. This is her friend. This is their, young life. They've got this. And then Ronan wants to go play catch. And there's almost like nothing with football with Baylor football, nothing. And so I think, and it's always been that way. And I think, that probably started, I think, with me just not bringing stuff home. But it's almost tripled down now that our kids are at the age where their lives are fully in bloom, right, with their own relationships and friends and everything else. And so I think for me that keeps, I try not to. I think there was a time where when I would drive from the office at LSU, particularly from the office back and forth, I would listen to sports talk radio, and I think, I don't anymore. And I think I think your ability to kind of put up guardrails of like, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, right? This is how I want to show up in these instances, right? These are the values I want to live through. And I think the more you can keep it lined up like that and kind of keep, the inside, and the outside, gives you the best chance to show up the way you want to show up. And so my family helps me because they can make the real stuff real quick. And then I think, just the discipline of just whether it's a book on tape or it's something to not let your mind stray, because I think all that stuff can. And I think we've all seen it happen to people.
Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, with me.
David Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Petty Clinic Low T. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want and need and maybe used to be. As you get older, Father Time, testosterone level in men can change. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. Could be sleep habits, could be energy, being lethargic. It also could be sex drive. Dr. Kent Petty, pettycliniclowt.com. In the top left-hand corner, there's a phone number and an email. Either one of those ways, contact his office. Tell him, you know what? I might be a candidate here. I might be one of every 3 men. I heard Smokey talking about it. That does seem like it could be me. He will then set you up with an appointment to get your blood work. He'll look at the lab results, and if your testosterone levels are too low, he can put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, that you used to be, and that you need to be. It's called pettycliniclowt.com.
1, 2. Okay. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Since its inception, Pickup Outfitters has remained politically neutral. We love trucks of every persuasion, not just red and blue ones. But people keep asking us where we stand. And for this one time, we're going to break our neutrality. We oppose any government intervention or legislation to end truck nudity. We believe in the American right to drive nude vehicles. We think it's disgusting. We fight it every place we can, and we want to end it, but we want to end it the right way, peaceably. Therefore, we call on Congress and President Biden to respect the rights of truck owners. Our founding fathers didn't own a truck, but if they did, I bet they would have put a bed cover and running boards on their truck. The right to keep and bear your truck the way you want is fundamental to the fabric of this nation, and we believe in that right. So we urge you to come and take it at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco, on the web at createacommotion.com.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screen stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corey. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and both include showers, sauna, and whirlpool, and a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by Pro Britt Cole. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
This 4 o'clock hour, got to throw one golf note in, and then we get to Oklahoma Tulane. That game is being moved, as you could imagine. The chat room is going hot and heavy on this opening week, really the first full week of the college football season. My God, the playoff between Patrick Cantlay and Bryson DeChambeau for the BMW Championship, it's the Tour Championship is up next, was one of the best, most dramatic, and a lot of times we do that because of recency bias. It was unbelievable. And both of them threw haymakers. DeChambeau, who is a really good putter, had some opportunities, but Patrick Cantlay was incredible with some of the putts he made to stay alive, to force some pressure on Bryson DeChambeau. There's another one to go, the Tour Championship, and both of them will be like right there at the top. Tony Finau as well. But I don't know if you saw that if you're a golf fan. I was telling Craig, I want to come over. I was going to bring something to Craig. I couldn't leave until the playoff was over. And finally, I think after 6 holes, Patrick Cantlay won it. And then I was able to get out of the house for a little bit. It was drama.
Yeah, I did not watch it. I'm not a big golf watcher, but I did see a lot of buzz about it. I'm surprised Armstrong didn't catch it. But, yeah, that sounded like it was a lot of fun to watch.
I'm surprised Armstrong didn't catch it, seeing as that he is such a huge Bryson DeChambeau fan.
Massive.
Really approves of the way that he plays golf, the way that he treats other human beings, the way that he just carries himself as a person that's not at all way too uptight.
No comment is what he said. All right, 254-339-1122. The phone lines are open again. Craig Smoak has a note about Oklahoma Tulane.
Yeah, from Ross Dellinger, Tulane has decided to play the game against Oklahoma on Saturday. As was mentioned earlier, they're moving the game to Norman. It will remain an 11 a.m. kickoff, which I'm sure Oklahoma fans are just like, really, that's like their biggest bugaboo is that 11 a.m. kickoff time. But it'll be 11 a.m. kickoff in Norman this Saturday. And he made mention that Tulane has not determined the status of any other games at this time. But there is that change, and it's now official.
Look, Oklahoma fans, get yourself some eggs. They soak up everything. Just charge through. That's why they're mad about 11 o'clock kickoff time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because it's, they're out getting rowdy on Friday night.
Fox Sports thinks differently of their 11 o'clock kickoff, but fans, you get a little bit numb to it as well. From the 212, is this the Sikkim line? Yes. Is this the line where you take calls and text? Yes. Can I call or text? Yes. Right now, 254-339-1122.
Well,
and we'll get the Mitch Sherman. We got room for another segment. If you want to squeeze a call in or two, that's up to you. How about the story yesterday or over the weekend where IMG Academy in high school football played Sycamore? Bishop Sycamore, and they're not even a team. They got on the television. They got on ESPN's national game. Here's from Dawson Boyd covering this couple of notes. There has never been a Bishop Sycamore. They played 2 games in 3 days. Their head coach currently has an active arrest warrant. Most of the players are JUCO dropouts who are nowhere near high school age. How did ESPN get scammed this badly? Craig played in a state championship game one time in baseball against guys that probably were JUCO or college or whatever level, or even like 4 years older than him. How does this happen on ESPN?
Yeah, I don't know. And then the person who the article for Awful Announcing, there's another Bishop Sycamore, a team from somewhere in the area or like an older team, but it's, man, I have no idea. How did IMG Academy get scammed like this? They're trying to schedule. I think they're supposed to play Duncanville too, aren't they? Bishop Sycamore. Yeah, they're supposed to play Duncanville here in Texas. Yeah, this is all.
I'm going to call Reggie Samples. By the way, the DeSoto, Cedar Hill, and Duncanville's the 3 teams in that 11-6A. All of them lost to good people. Right. But I'm going to call Reggie Samples after the show.
Here's the saddest part about Bishop Sycamore. You're all JUCO dropouts. You're older than these high school kids.
Drilled.
And they got absolutely boat raced by high school kids. So you can't even cheat right.
Yeah, ESPN said they've discussed it with the Paragon Marketing, which is the one that is securing all of these deals and these games. And so somewhere along the way, Paragon Marketing got absolutely fooled, and ESPN didn't think anything of it. And I can kind of understand that. You wouldn't think this marketing team would get completely, duped by some rogue band of, college kids playing high school football. I saw where their quarterback – somebody found his 24/7 profile, and he had been listed as a quarterback with no offers in 2 recruiting classes ago. He had been listed as a senior quarterback, class of 21 or whatever it was, or class of 2020 or something like that. I saw the page. He had no offers. He clearly was supposed to have graduated, and yet there he was playing 2 years later on those fields. So just bizarre how that happens. And what's the point? It's you did all that to create this team, and what's the end goal here? Because your team sucks. It'd be one thing if they were good. It'd be one thing if they were good and they had actually went and played a competitive game, and then people would have been like, wait, who the hell are these guys? And then maybe they would have gotten into some trouble because clearly things aren't on the up and up, but at least you'd be competitive. But they're fake and they suck. So it's what is the point of this whole thing?
At least when Denny Almonte did that in the Little League World Series, he was, striking kids out. To do it and fail, there's nothing sadder to me than trying to go back to high school once you're gone.
Yeah, that's pathetic.
And then to play against a high school and then just get drilled.
Well, they had played a game earlier in the week already, so they had played twice in a matter of days, and apparently the marketing company thought that they had a split squad or I don't know, man. One of the biggest whats that I've seen in some time, of just as far as a strange story, and you're how in the world could this have happened? And yet it happened, and now we're getting to enjoy this weird, crazy backstory.
Yeah, if I was doing a game and I try to get a hold of coaches on the Saturday prior to the game that's on a Friday the next week, send an email. If I never got a response or they never answered my calls, I would then call the superintendent, or I would call the athletic director if it's a large enough school. And then if I didn't get anything from them, I would call the team that they're playing, like the team that we're broadcasting, and go, who are these people? And this is ESPN doing this. And so,
well, isn't it crazy? They could have scouted their previous game since it happened the night before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Played 2 straight days. This team played 2 straight days with the same lineup. They had the same quarterback, the same all that. It wasn't a split squad like they had, I guess some people have been led to believe. So they turned around and got that second game in a day later. What in the world is going on, and who is in charge of this thing? I saw somebody said that the school website has no address. There's no way to figure out anything about this.
Apparently they played 6 games a year ago.
I don't know, man. It's bizarre, though. It's bizarre.
Apparently, yeah. Hey, here's a 512. People are saying Brigham Young going to the Big 12. Well, that's a report. Also, why would SEC or Big Ten teams not kick out their lesser teams? You know why?
Because they don't have money.
They are as strong as their weakest link, and they're actually loyal to each other. They may hate each other in some ways, like Auburn and Alabama, but those conferences are loyal to each other. Not like the Big 12.
Well, I think maybe asking from the standpoint of what would prevent the SEC from just booting. Academics, obviously, you don't want to boot Vanderbilt because they play heavily into your academics. So there's factors like that as well. And, I just don't know that it's good business. It's one thing to take teams. It's another thing to, boot teams out. And contractually, the money you would owe for the remaining years, and that would just get really, really messy and wouldn't serve much of a purpose. And, you kind of need some teams that are going to be the ones that get beat up on every once in a while. Not everybody can be a national championship contender across the board. But, I am curious to see what the next move is, because, if there's some Super League coming or whatever, it is hard to kind of see Vanderbilt, how they fit into things. But, again, the academic side of it, and, it'd probably be messier to boot them out and do that whole process.
The text line. We got a call? Okay, from Show Memo. The folks who think the Alliance will not schedule SEC is wrong. LSU and USC have just scheduled a game. In fact, I think it's in Vegas. The Alliance is not going to cut out the SEC. There are games. In fact, it won't get rid of any games that are previously scheduled. And there will still be SEC a part of playing teams from the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the ACC, among others. It was just a show of unison. Or turf war.
It's a caucus.
Yes, there you
That's
go.
what it is. It's like a voting caucus. That's what it is.
254-339-1122.
All right, let's go to the Big Apple. You're on the BetUS caller line. Didn't get your name. Thanks for your call.
Yeah, my name's David.
Thank you, David. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's David. I have a comment on expansion. And, I think I love your guys' show, first of all. I think a lot of you have great insights, and you're all very well spoken. But I have an opinion that really hasn't been discussed yet on your show, and it's a little counterintuitive. So I thought I would talk about it. And I think that a lot of people think a weakness this particular fact might be a weakness, but I actually think it's a strength. Okay, and what I'm referring to is adding the University of Houston into the expansion pool. And if you'll let me develop the point for just a brief moment, I didn't go to college in Texas. I went to Notre Dame. So I have no loyalty in this fight. I just love college football. And just like you guys, I love the pageantry of the sport. And so my interest is I just want the Big 12 to succeed. And I just want to see Texas schools succeed, and Baylor and Tech and TCU and all the rest. And so my point on this is that when you look at any recruit coming out of Texas or even the Houston area, one of the things that they're going to be thinking about is for their family members, how many games are they going to have in the state of Texas compared to SEC or the Big Ten or wherever, the Pac-12, wherever else. And if you add another Texas school, it just adds another Texas game for their family to attend. And I'll even go further than that by saying that, there's a lot of recruits in Houston, but a big part of going to college, and I think I speak for a lot of people on this, is that a lot of people don't want to go to college in the city they grew up. They want to go, they want to take, they want to sort of get out of town for a little while, and they want to go to a school at another location where they can have a nice college experience. And maybe, who knows, after college they'll come back to where they're from when they went to high school. But it's not a guarantee just because someone went to high school in a certain area that they're going to go to college in that same area, because they might want to get out of town like a lot of people would do when they go to college. And so I think the Houston recruiting pool is a strength, not a weakness, for Texas Tech and Baylor and TCU, because look, if those guys want to stay in Houston, they're just going to go to UH anyway, whether they're in the Big 12 or the American Conference. But if the UH is in the Big 12, now they got 3 games in state for their family to attend, and that might make them more likely to go to a Baylor or go to a Texas Tech or go to a TCU, because now they got 3 in-state games, and they might not want to go to the SEC or the Big Ten or anywhere else, and they might not want to go to college in the city of Houston. They might want to go to a campus. The UH is in the city of Houston. It's right in the middle of the city. But they might want to go to a campus like Baylor has, or TCU, or Texas Tech. They have nice college campuses. And so I don't think it's a weakness at all for recruiting. I think if you add another Texas school, you cement the Texas strength of the Big 12. If you guys go to 12 teams and there's only 3 out of the 12 that are from Texas, that's not a Texas-centric conference anymore. But if you add Houston and there's 12 teams, now there's 4 Texas teams, and now it's thought of, nationwide as a Texas-centric conference, and recruits in Texas are more likely to go to one of those Texas-centric conference schools. What do you guys think about that?
Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thanks for the call. I actually look. It's certainly a different way to look at it. That maybe it does, and what we've been saying is the concern would be that it would dilute the pool a little bit, but maybe that's another way to spin it for the other schools that are in there.
No, I've thought about it from that point of view too, and I agree with you. I mean, there are going to be guys that want to leave Houston regardless, and rather than staying at home, it's better to just have a couple-hour drive and you're still away from home and yet drivable to get back home. You know what I mean? So, no, there's definitely going to be the players out of Houston that want to get away and want to go to Dallas or Houston to Waco or Lubbock or whatever. Totally agree with you on that. And agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, as far as the Texas-centric and all that, I want to make very clear I'm not anti-UH. Just for anybody that may be wondering, not at all, and welcome them to the Big 12 if they get an invite, and don't really worry about it in any way, shape, or form. My whole thing has just been looking at it from the recruiting perspective, but no, I've considered some of the points that you made, and I think you're absolutely right. There is that way to look at it as well. So depending on how the Big 12 wants to look at it, I think Houston's a very attractive candidate and a viable candidate, and I think if they add 4 schools, Houston's probably going to be one of them. I mean, ultimately, I do think they're probably going to be one of those schools. Now, if they had 2 schools, I doubt it would be Houston. I just feel like that wouldn't make too much sense. But if they had 4, I definitely think Houston's joining up, and I think you would probably be them, UCF, BYU, and then whoever you want to name that 4th one as, because there's a lot of different contenders from Cincy to Memphis to whoever else you want to throw in there. But no, man, great points, and that's certainly a way of looking at it, and a way of looking at it that makes a lot of sense. So appreciate it.
All right, one quick call, then we got a break. Come back with Mitch Sherman, theathletic.com.
All right, let's go to Cleveland, Ohio, where we've got Stan. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. Big fan of your show. Big fan.
Thank you, Stan.
You say that Texas is arrogant. Just wait till they meet Alabama. Because I'm a big Auburn fan. But anyway, I got this figured out, okay? All right, here's the West Division. Texas Tech, TCU, BYU, San Diego State, Colorado State, Kansas, and UNLV. Perfect. The East. Oklahoma State, Baylor, K-State, Houston, Cincy, UCF, Memphis, and Iowa State. Now, I'm retired, so if Mosley needs some help doing this, I'll be glad to come to Texas and help him.
Well, yeah, right there in his offices in Dallas.
You're welcome regardless.
Thank you, Stan. Appreciate the call and your comments as well. I hope at one point that there are enough teams, along with just enough money to survive or at least keep it going, to where you have to have a couple of divisions. I've enjoyed the 10, though. I really have. I thought it was great. You played everybody every year. There was no scheduling holes in it, where you might not play somebody really good for 4 years and another team might play them 4 consecutive years in crossover games. But I hope that at some point there is enough to at least possibly look at division.
Yeah, that's what I'm really interested in is how big are they looking to go? Obviously all that comes back to the values and who adds what. Like, we know that BYU probably adds something, so they make sense. We know that Houston probably adds something, so they make sense. Cincinnati, et cetera. But if they do go as large as you're talking about, I mean, that would be a shame that you wouldn't play somebody for, a good stretch of time. But I'm not trying to be Homer-rific here, but that sounds like an interesting conference, does it not?
No.
It sounds like it could be a lot of fun, and I know those aren't like a ton of big brands, but they're not like a ton of off brands either, and a bunch of those schools are just kind of new and shiny in a way, like UCF is. So I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of geographic reach there, and I know that geography is not like the main thing as far as you have to be close together to play together in the same conference anymore, but it does matter in terms of TV markets, and so that would cover a lot of population and streaming. And I mean, if they were to go to 16, I think that'd be one hell of a conference. If they slice a couple off or 4 off, I still think it could be very interesting, but I like your idea.
Yeah, the regional conferences are just going out the door entirely. You just put that up. On the text or the poll, then a break, then Mitch Sherman. Does Houston make sense for the Big 12? Armstrong put this up. 58% of you say yes. 42% said no. It was flipped early on. 58 to 42 in favor of Houston. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco. Gorgeous walk-in fridge. Great high-end whiskeys as well, and bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hoot Young in Bardstown. Great customer service, a speedy drive-through window. And look, if you're looking for a job right now in Waco, Riverbend Liquor and Wine is hiring, and believe me, you can do a lot worse in your life. Chapman's going to be a great boss. It's a great place to work. If you are interested, go by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more information on Facebook and Instagram.
Hi, Mark Stewart here with Bird Colgin Ford. Score big with Midway Football and Ford trucks. It's time to catch football fever and find the perfect Ford truck for your next tailgating party. The Ford F-150 has been America's #1 selling truck for 44 years, and Bird Colgin Ford has the perfect truck for you to drive to your next football game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the many truck choices at Bird Colgin Ford. Visit us anytime at bkford.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, Mitch Sherman, who had the sad opportunity to read my text as Nebraska was yet again melting down under the Scott Frost era. God, just to mention that it's been an era is enough for me. So we asked Mitch to come on. This will be the last time, unfortunately, for Mitch. We probably talk to him because Nebraska football's year's over. Mitch, what's it like? How you doing, buddy? What's it like in Lincoln right now?
It's August and the year's over. Man, can you believe that? It's fine in Lincoln. Well, no, not really. It's they're getting ready for the home opener on Saturday against Fordham, the FCS doormat coming in. Not going to lose that one. That's an impossibility. But any other game on the schedule is certainly a risk, including Buffalo the week after. So it's kind of depressing. I mean, you don't normally see this, never see this kind of pessimism and disappointment so early in any season. You know, whatever sport you're talking about, but 3 hours in, and there was so much emphasis placed on that opener Saturday at Illinois that a loss period would have been deflating. But the way that it happened and how Nebraska beat itself yet again was especially troubling for anyone who follows this program.
Mitch, what would be a bigger death knell for Scott Frost? The fact that they are still losing, or the fact that they're still losing the exact same way?
Well, the latter, that they're still losing the exact same way. I think if Nebraska were to have a 6-6 season, which is not real successful by any standard, but it played football that looked better, that was a solid brand of football. It was competitive. It didn't make the kind of mistakes that we've seen for 3 years and then saw in force at Illinois on Saturday. And also in a game that everyone was watching. First Power 5 versus Power 5 game of the year. Really the only interesting contest on TV in week 0. So it's not just the Nebraska fan base that's watching. It's people nationally who can't wait to get back into college football. That makes it sting a little more because you become a laughingstock. But I don't think that that's so much the concern today of Husker Nation. It's more about the fact, like you mentioned, Smokey, that it just continues to happen over and over. If they lost but looked okay doing it, it would buy him some time, I guess. I don't want to go too deep into that conversation yet because it's still August, but the seed is hot, and it's worse, much worse, because of the way that loss occurred on Saturday.
So, Mitch, obviously he's a guy who had a lot of success at UCF, but others have as well. You know, he's the hero coming home to save the day. Mm-hmm. Why is it not working? Why does it feel like such a bad partnership when the whole idea was that it would be such a fantastic partnership?
Yeah, I mean, that's there's a lot of ways to go with that, and the easiest thing is just to say that Nebraska's just not a good team, and they're not a well coached team right now. So we can look at any number of things and realize and point out that he brought his entire staff from UCF. It was not a staff with Power 5 experience. It's a different animal altogether, coaching in the American Conference versus the Big Ten. I think they expected that they could come in and impose their style of play on these Big Ten West teams that aren't regularly playing for national championships, but their brand of football is formidable nonetheless. And you're doing it in a climate, both a recruiting climate and then a weather climate for half of the season or a third of the season that isn't really conducive to some of the stuff that they succeeded with at UCF. So that's just the starting off point. And there are, any number of things looking back now that you can point to and say, well, that was a red flag, or, that was a concern. And it's not over. It is, it could be soon, but he has time. Nebraska has time to turn it around this season. The one game does not determine a season, but it was a bad, a very formidable start, and in so many different ways. Not just the Nebraska loss, but the special teams errors, the untimely turnovers, the penalties at the wrong time. the mistakes in the passing game, just looking like a bad, poorly coached football team, and then the admission that Nebraska prepared for the wrong defensive front against the first-year coach and had to throw out half of its offensive game plan because Illinois was in an even front. This is a 4-year starting quarterback that Nebraska has, and a coach who's been running this system since his time at Oregon. It's just amazing to think that you would have your offense cut in half because an adjustment, of a realization or a situation like that where they went with a defense you weren't expecting. I mean, Bielema ran a 4-man front at Wisconsin. He ran it at Arkansas. His defensive coordinator ran it in his time at Missouri often. So just because Illinois said it was going with an odd front this year defensively, it's incredible that Nebraska was so unprepared for the opposite.
Yeah, Mitch, there's words I could use, but I can say it on YouTube. They have this streak that they're so proud of because it was 40 years of greatness, and it's 375 consecutive games. Did I get this quote right from Scott Frost that he said, buy up the tickets, whatever. If tickets remain, buy them up. We need you there. They need fans there for Fordham or just to keep that streak alive?
Well, I don't think he's talking about needing them to help win the game against Fordham. There was no that was not in a context. That answer today at his press conference was not in the context of the opponent. It was a question about how tickets remain available, and that streak, 375 games dating to 1962, is in danger of ending this week. And, there's multiple reasons for that. COVID is a factor. Just the exodus in general nationally of fans from college football stadiums making the decision to stay home and watch it in their more comfortable environment is a factor. But if Nebraska was winning, you wouldn't have to worry about it, especially in a season opener after a season where fans were not allowed in the stadium. So it could end this week, and I don't know that would be the worst thing.
Mitch, is Trev Alberts good for Scott Frost or bad for Scott Frost?
That could go either way. They seem to get off to a good start. And at Big Ten Media Days, they put up a united front a month ago now, back in July in Indianapolis. It looked like they were somewhat kindred spirits as former Tom Osborne pupils, but it hasn't gone great since they got back from Indy. And the highlight of what may end up being some turbulence, I think it is some turbulence at this point, was the little press conference that they had a week ago last Wednesday to announce that, yes, there is an NCAA investigation into this program for improper use of analysts on the field in a coaching role. It's a minor potential infraction, but it was not a great moment for Frost in the situation where Alberts took him off the practice field and brought him up in front of the camera. Scott didn't want to be there, and that was very clear from the way that he answered questions and just the look that he had in that moment. So if there's tension between the two of them at this point, I think it stems from that situation, and then that could continue to grow if this team doesn't grow up on the field in a hurry.
Mitch, how much better is Taylor Martinez since he first started for the Cornhuskers?
Adrian Martinez.
Adrian, sorry, yeah.
Taylor, you can go back to the Big 12 days for sure and find some great clips of Taylor Martinez. Look, Adrian knows the offense better. I think he has a better handle on how to make this thing work for Nebraska, but he's not executing. He's not making quick decisions in the pocket. I don't know that Nebraska is playing to his strengths as an athlete, but there is an experience behind him, and he's been injured every year that he started at Nebraska, every year that he's played at Nebraska at some point. So they're doing what they have to do to keep him safe. It just hasn't come together since his freshman year in the way that it looked like it would because of how well he played back in 2018. And if you just look at the numbers from Saturday, 16 to 32, 230 yards, 110 yards rushing. It cut touchdown on the ground, touchdown through the air, one turnover. you'd say, okay, that was a good start for Adrian. It wasn't. It was not a good performance. He was sporadic with his accuracy in the passing game, and they really struggled to move the ball consistently. And most of all, he's a 3-year captain. He's a proven leader in this program. I mean, Adrian is an outstanding citizen and representative of Nebraska, and that's all great. But when they needed his leadership in that game, it wasn't there. There was a call that went against Nebraska on the defensive side. It was a 9-2 game. It overturned an interception and that Nebraska made defensively, and then Illinois scored on 4 consecutive possessions, a 28-0 run in less than 15 minutes of clock time. And that's where you need your leaders to step up and get you out of that thing. That's where Adrian needed to make a play and say, this is done. We're not going to let them continue this thing. This is Illinois, not Ohio State that we're playing here. And this is a moment for leaders to step up and win games. And Nebraska, despite being an older team with 6th-year seniors and veterans all over the field, is not doing that. Did not do that in that moment when it needed those guys most on Saturday.
Mitch, thank you very much, buddy. Good luck covering that, whatever that is, the rest of the way. You and I are too emotionally invested to discuss this much longer. I want to.
I'll discuss it with you. I'll discuss it with you anytime, Smokey. I'm good. I'm objective on this thing.
I sent him one of those text messages, and then I asked him to come on the show, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't get back to you."
Mitch.
I wasn't sending that for a response. I was sending that for me. Mitch, great stuff. Appreciate what you're doing with theathletic.com. You and everyone else. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we'll hear from Clemson writer Alexis Kubik. In just a second, she's with the state newspaper.
Yeah, I want to ask you, which had you more angry on Saturday? Was it the fielding a punt on the 1-yard line and having that result in a safety? Was it the 2 missed extra points by a senior kicker?
Who was the kicker of the year in the Big Ten?
Yeah, it was the All-Big Ten last year. Was it the Adrian Martinez fumble that became a scoop-and-score touchdown for the Illini? Was it the overthrow in the end zone that led to a field goal instead of a touchdown?
It would have been a 13-2 lead, but it would just delayed the agony.
Was it the overall penalties?
Why are you bringing all this up?
No. I'm like, this is outlining, like, if you just let me go here, like, these are all the things that happened in this game on Saturday. Mm-hmm. They fielded a punt on the 1-yard line that turned into a safety. They missed 2 extra points.
From one of their best defensive players, too.
Missed 2 extra points from a senior All-Big Ten kicker. Adrian Martinez fumbles, scoop, and score. Martinez overthrows automatic touchdown in the end zone. Instead, they get a field goal, so that's 4 points off.
He's always been erratic throwing.
Penalties, just in general, and wiping out big plays.
Yep.
Then there was also Frost and his staff with the quarterback sneak on the Illinois 5-yard line because they thought it was 4th down.
They thought it was 4th down, and the clock is running, and you're 2 scores down. That, to me, I hate it. I love Scott Frost as a player.
One? Yeah, it has to be, right?
But all the other ones, just like, when you're bad, it just accumulates. I think Scott Frost, time management, from the first game they ever played against Colorado, you and I were down in San Antonio on our way to a game. From day one, his clock management, late game decisions have been horrific. They've lost almost every game like that's been close from the first time he was there. And to me, it's time to move on. If they don't get to a bowl game, it's time to move on.
The way Craig asked that, which bothered you most, is like asking which bee stung you the hardest.
I know, right?
Like, out of the whole hive.
Yeah, the whole hive.
But it's like that sums them up. And if you have a team that struggles, they have no mental toughness. When something goes wrong, then it's multiplied.
They lost by 8 points.
Yeah.
Okay, they lost by 8. And all of the things that you mentioned were the difference. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah.
That game should have probably been if you don't do any of those things. If you do none of those things, you probably win the game
31-17.
If you do like 2 less of those things, you probably still win the game because you only lost by 8.
That's what bad teams do. All right, coming up next, Alexis Kubik. We've known her since she was at Baylor. She covers Clemson, and we'll talk about Clemson and Georgia next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got the summer savings event that continues to roll on over at Richard Carr, and they are customer friendly. They are all about the customer service over at Richard Carr, and during this just strange time period that we're living in right now, they are still getting cars off the lot, and they're bringing the cars to you just in case you can't get over to the lot. But some of the cars they're offering right now, how about the new Cadillacs? They'll bring a smile to your face on every drive. Cadillacs have advanced technology, exceptional agility, and responsive power, all combined into one vehicle. In a Richard Carr Cadillac, they'll find the right model for you, whether it's a smooth and powerful CT4 sedan starting at only $33,395, or perhaps it's the XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs in the style and size to fit your lifestyle. You can also get back on the road with space, safety, and luxury in Buick. Right now, well-qualified buyers get 0% financing for 72 months on most 2021 Buick SUVs. And Richard Carr is also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, all of them priced to move during the summer savings event. Each pre-owned vehicle goes through a 172-point inspection before it ever hits the parking lot. And with dozens of lenders, Richard Carr says yes when others say no, because 100% credit approval is always the goal. And if you're here in the Waco, Central Texas area, Richard Carr is also your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Come by and take a test drive at the dealership, or as I mentioned, you can get a hold of them and they will bring the test drive to you. It's the summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr, and they are owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Oh, a little step back. Beautiful on the score for Snead.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, 5:13. We're a little bit late getting to our distinguished guest, Alexis Cuban, now Clemson sports reporter for the state newspaper, former Baylor graduate, or always will be a Baylor graduate, intern of ours at the radio station, and man, we have watched her soar into what she does now, covering big-time college football. Alexis, good afternoon. How you been?
Hey guys, I'm good. How are y'all?
We're doing. Oh, we got the Zoom of her. Yeah. Even better. Even better. Alexis, is this Clemson-Georgia game kind of maybe blowing up before it even starts because of Georgia's injuries that appear that they have a lot of people missing? Has that been much talk from the Clemson side?
So it's actually funny. We talked about that. We had availability today, and defensive coordinator Brett Venables was kind of asking someone's like, did they put out a depth chart? Like, how do y'all know that? I'm like, well, it's been reported that, these guys are getting injured. But yeah, it's interesting. So I have a story coming out tomorrow morning about kind of recounting the last time these two teams have played when they had the home and home series in 2013, 2014. The year that Clemson won at home in 2013, Georgia had an injury on the second play. Todd Gurley had just scored a touchdown, and one of the wide receivers tore his ACL celebrating it. And then in 2014, there was one of Clemson's tight ends got injured, broke a bone in his leg during warmups. And, obviously Georgia ended up winning that game. So it seems like the team without injuries is the winner when it comes to those things. Now, of course, this is a neutral site, but yeah, it does seem to, it's kind of cliche, but it does seem that, the winner tends to be the team without injuries. And right now it's just not looking so great when it comes to Georgia and staying healthy, which is ironic because as Georgia is kind of getting guys out, Clemson is getting guys in. Obviously, like Justin Ross, someone who was out the whole 2020 season, they get him back. Justin Foster, who was also out with COVID last year, they got him back. Joseph Ngata has been struggling with the hamstring deal during fall camp. They've got him back. And then Tyson Pumachan, the backup quarterback, who ruptures Achilles during spring football, is back, which is crazy because that's a 10 to 12 month recovery, and he's back in 4. So it just seems like the injury scales are really tipping on Georgia's side, unfortunately.
The big questions for a lot of people with Clemson, obviously they don't really rebuild, they just kind of reload. Now, we got to see a lot of DJ Uiagalelei last year, but what about running back? They lose Travis Etienne. Do they feel confident with who they have stepping in to replace him?
So that's been a point of conversation, all fall. We just asked about that today. They still will not name an official starter at running back, but just because of what Travis did, being the all-time leading rusher in the ACC, it's going to be almost a committee deal. But they do have a lot of talent at the position. It's just not, with the exception of senior Lynn J. Dixon, it's not exactly proven talent per se, although offensive coordinator Tony Elliott, he's really high on Kobe Pace, a sophomore who came in and had some time last season behind Travis and did relatively well. He held his own as a reserve, but then there's also the freshman Will Shipley who's come in, and he didn't have a fall season at all in high school, but he's come in and really made a name for himself with his work ethic. He is debatably one of the fastest on the team, which says a lot for, an 18-year-old kid to come in and have that kind of title, or at least be in the conversation with these other guys who have been here for, some of them 6 years. So it'll be really interesting to see who they run out first. Of course, Dabo always kind of favors the older guys. And so that would obviously be Lin J, but I have a hard time. I would be very surprised if Lin J was the only one or got the majority of the reps in that Georgia game, just because of how high, Will Shipley's on the radar, how high Kobe Pace is respected among the coaching staff. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see a true starting running back for a little bit, just because they kind of want to, it's still an audition essentially, which is crazy to think that, considering this is a top 5 matchup. But I mean, I don't think anybody has really kind of stood out yet as far as that goes. But when it comes to the starter, my money is on Lin J just because he's a senior, and that tends to be what Dabo goes toward.
Alexis, so when it comes to Uiagalelei, there we go.
It's a mouthful, Uiagalelei. Yeah.
Uiagalelei. When it comes to him taking over for Trevor Lawrence, I mean, obviously he's not brand new. He's had some time already, but just what has it been like? I know you don't have a lot to compare it to, but post Trevor Lawrence life, I know there's a lot of confidence in this young man, but what's just been sort of the buzz this camp?
It's been a ton of buzz. It's weird because it almost feels like he's not really new. He was around last year, but you don't get the same feel as, oh, this guy's taking over.
Right.
Just because he just feels like such a veteran already as a sophomore. One of the things I heard, I talked to Eric McLean, who is a former Clemson offensive lineman and now works for the ACC network and has a podcast. And he said Dabo came on there and said between DJ, Trevor, Deshaun, Kelly Bryant, and Trevor Lawrence, that DJ has the most arm talent out of all of them, which is insane when you think about the fact that a couple of them are Heisman finalists. Taj Boyd at one point was in the conversation for the Heisman, and it's big. But this kid, he just has a natural talent. I think that's the biggest thing, is that he's got the body structure, 6'5", 249. So Dabo jokes because he dropped below 250. He's not big Cinco anymore. He's little Cinco until he gets that 5 back in there.
Yeah.
But it's just, he's a big kid. He's strong. You saw, I think it was during their spring game, he had thrown an interception, but would end up tackling a guy and bringing him down. So, that's not a problem. But yeah, it's just insane to think about how good he can be, and just, his arm talent, and then also just the wide receivers that he has around him. He complimented them today. So it's definitely going to be a fun offense to watch, I think. And just the fact that, yes, Trevor Lawrence is gone, but I don't see any drop off with DJ. I think just when you consider that he came from a school like St. John Bosco too, where, it's almost like a D1 factory out there in Southern California. So, I'm excited to see what he can do and put together. But, I don't see this offense dropping off at all.
Has anything even been more than just the initial when Texas and Oklahoma announced, or the story broke that they would be leaving for the SEC at some point? I'm sure that was on the radar in Clemson, South Carolina, and around the ACC. Has there been much talk about that since?
Not a ton. So someone asked Dabo about it, and he was just like, I don't think anything about it at all, which, of course, that he's going to say that just because, right now it doesn't directly affect them. But I will say they have the alliance now with the ACC and the Big Ten and the Pac-12. So that almost feels like they did it in response to the SEC. There were rumors a few weeks ago that it was, I think, Clemson and Florida State were going to join the SEC, which doesn't really make sense because I don't think their contract's up to 2036. So that's not going to happen. But yeah, it definitely is something I think a lot of them have keeping their eye on. Brett Venables commented on it, being a former Big 12 guy, playing at Kansas State. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing I think we're all keeping our eye on, because you figure at some point the SEC is going to come knocking for Clemson just because of what they've been able to do.
Alexis Cubitt, the state newspaper with us, covers Clemson on Sikkim 365 Radio. I just looked at this. Do you know how many games Clemson's played in the last handful of years? Normally, in the day, you could play 12 games. You'd have 11-game season, then it went to 12, then you might get 13, right? Right?
Yeah.
They have played 15, 14. 6 of the last, 8 or 9 years, they've played 13 or 14 games, 15 games. And that's a lot of games, which also allows you to have a lot more experience. But I would think that, we're getting closer to an NFL type of year. That's part of the super expanded playoff as well. That's a ton of games. That's like a high school team, as Alexis, you covered it in Texas, going deep every year and guys getting a chance to practice, or a bowl team. How much of an advantage do you think that's been for them as Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess, in terms of like records and stuff, it's cool because you have a guy like James Skalski who's, playing for a record 6th ACC championship this year. So he gets to say that, he's probably like the winningest college football player ever, just because not only are they playing, like you said, 12, 14, 15 games a year, but he's been here for 6 years.
Yeah.
So, in that aspect, it's kind of cool. But also, in the same respect, that's why Dabo's against, or part of the reason why he said he's against the expanded, college football playoff deal, just because, you make it 12 teams. Now that extends their season even longer, especially with the way that injuries just really affected them last year. That could happen at any time. So you figure if they're already getting kind of beat up in that span of games, you add, 2 or 3 more, will they even have a team by the end of the season? So I could see why he would fight or be against, an expanded football playoffs and, that sort of thing. But it's a lot of games, and it definitely is a testament to their strength and conditioning programs, just keeping them in for so long. But I mean, in the same respect, when you play, no disrespect to like Wake Forest or like Georgia Tech, but when you play them and you're up by like 40 at halftime, you really don't have to play your starters. So that gives them a little bit of rest. So I guess there's a little bit of,
give and take on that, yeah.
Yeah.
They played 15 games a year for 5 consecutive years.
Yeah. Alexis, you moved from Lubbock to Clemson. What are the biggest differences, West Texas to South Carolina, for you?
Oh my gosh, I have a social life, guys.
Congratulations.
I have things to do here. No, I will say this. Comparatively, everybody in the South is very friendly and very nice. But it is a different feel here just because, we had in West Texas, or in the Lubbock area where I was, we had 1 6A. And so, you might get a kid that would go to kind of an FCS program. But now coming here, it's like 5 stars everywhere, 4 stars everywhere. You're getting like the number 1 player in the country, you're getting number 1 player in the state. So it's interesting to see how the overall like vibe and culture of football kind of changes when you're dealing with these, highly touted programs like we have, Clemson has 3 5-star or 3 players from IMG Academy that committed from the class of 2022. Versus it was, I think we had 2 players in Lubbock from the same high school that were going on D1 programs, in Kobe McKenzie going to Oklahoma, and then Kyler Jordan, who you guys have talked to, going to Baylor there. So it's just really interesting. It's all football, but just the dynamic of it and like the vibe around it kind of changes when you get up to a program like Clemson and the kind of kids they attract versus being in like a West Texas or that kind of thing. So, yeah, just really interesting.
Yeah, you probably don't feel like you're out on an island anymore, right? Because I lived in Lubbock, and I know that feeling of like nothing's close within 2 hours. So I'm sure that's got to be pretty nice as well. But Alexis, I did want to tell you, it was now it's been several years, but you used to tag along with me in my old junker of a car. I have a nicer car now. I wish you would have been able to ride in this one, but we used to go to Midway games. We'd drive up there together because you were interning with us, and to see a few years later, where you are now, being, moving around a little bit, but now covering the top, arguably, number 1 or number 2 program in the country. It's awesome. I speak for all of us. We're so happy and so proud and so excited for you.
Thank you, guys. No, and I told Paul earlier, y'all can totally take credit for me because if it wasn't for y'all, like I would not have been where I am and got the experience I did. And yes, Craig, I do remember that your car wasn't terrible. I've seen.
Well, listen, you probably didn't have any, near-death experiences with Craig, although there was one with Smokey.
Oh, my God.
She remembers.
So to be fair, Smokey, I do not blame you. I blame JJ for getting the wrong call.
Yeah, exactly right. When we were on our way back, was it Midlothian or whatever?
Midlothian,
Baylor's playing Texas Tech, right? We're listening to the game on the radio, and I start weaving out of traffic, and Baylor kicks a field goal, and we're partying inside the car. Paul, were you
a little nervous?
I think if you went back and looked, the oh crap handle had the indentation of my fingers. And you remember Planes, Trains, and Automobiles where Steve Martin pulls his fingers out of the thing? That was about what it was like.
I just let Alexis know what it was like to have fun, right? I mean, just enjoy it, right?
Yeah, the adrenaline, yeah.
Oh, it was adrenaline. Hey, we're proud of you, as Craig mentioned. No question. Good for you with what you're doing and where you've been and where you are now. Congratulations, Alexis Cuba. You have fun covering Clemson. That's big-time football, no question about it.
Thank you guys so much. I love you guys.
The state newspaper, Clemson football, Alexis Cuba. She was an intern. She then moved up north, and was it Minnesota?
Mm-hmm.
And then Lubbock. And then, God, just so proud of her.
Alexis and I fought snow and to go to lunch in Minneapolis. It was ice and snow. I was very proud of her for living there.
Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. She was there the day after you left. You just missed her by a day. Also, Alexis's mother still sends me a text on my birthday every year.
Oh, wow.
Because Alexis and I have the same birthday. So it's easy.
There you go.
Yes.
All right.
I was going to give her super credit, but then I'd take a little bit of it away. But that's awesome that she does that. Yeah, Alexis is a sweetheart and very proud of her. She's definitely scaling up the mountain and going higher and higher as the years go by. So that's been really cool to see.
All right, when we come back, 5:29, we'll have Paul's top 5 around the corner. We'll get back to some of your feedback on the text line, also on the chat room, and also a couple of other notes that I've saved for the week from the weekend for today as well.
And I did want to ask her, I just didn't get around to it because Paul kind of asked it in a way, but I mean, she's got to be fired up to go watch that game. My God, I'm fired up to watch it. Clemson and Georgia, I'm sure she'll be there in person, and the crowd will be crazy. And just I know we had football last weekend, but now it really feels like this is, obviously the main course. It's not the appetizer that we got a couple days back. But, man, I'm so ready for it, and what a great game to have highlight the first weekend.
When we come back, more from you. 254-339-1122. A couple of other notes. I noticed there was a Brett McMurphy tweet about who has the most graduates on their football team as they enter this year. One of them you saw play Saturday. One of them we cover, and there's a few others of interest. We'll let you know, and that's next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Ideal MRI, Dr. Rob Maxey, Al LeBlanc, and all the great people, the staff at Ideal MRI. They're located in the Central Texas Marketplace, just on the southern part of Waco, off I-35 headed south, and on Loop 340 as well in the Central Texas Marketplace. And they have a state-of-the-art technology. They have an MRI machine, which is as good as you can get, to help find out what shuts you down or what prevents you from walking, sleeping, or whatever it is with pain from a ligament or a muscle. And IdealMRI.com can get you inside their MRI machine and find out what it is. If you're a surgeon, that you are a doctor, said, hey, we got to get an MRI, you tell them about Ideal MRI in the Central Texas Marketplace. The highest you're going to pay for an MRI, think about this, is $497 or less every single time. They'll also help you with insurance and much more. And the average MRI is $1,100. So what they've done, Dr. Maxey and the staff, it's been amazing. And when you go there, there's not a long wait. There's not this huge waiting room with like 25 different speakers going off with who's going to be next or whatever. It's nice, it's comfortable, it's simple, it's easy. There's not a long wait. Setting up an appointment is easy at IdealMRI.com.
Make this a summer event as rocking at Allen Samuels with the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $6,250 or 2.9% for 72 months plus $2,000 in bonus cash. The 1500 Crew Cab has the top safety rating and is ranked #1 in full-size pickup trucks. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons and has hundreds of thousands.
Well, it's personal service. Okay. It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
A couple of local notes. Marlin High School defensive tackle Jeray Bledsoe committed to play at Texas. This is school Marlin, a very small school. They've done a lot of good stuff there to turn it around. They lost their opening game to Riesel, Texas high school football. That's a defensive tackle on a 2A school. And there's a couple other players that are getting a lot of attention for Marlin High School.
Something's weird there. I don't know what was in the water during like a 2-year stretch when folks in Marlin were having kiddos, but they went from having, I think, a total of like 0 Division I like caliber big time players since I've been here for like going on close to 10 years now, and I can't recall a Marlin recruit off the top of my head. But now they've got I mean, maybe there's one or two.
No, well, Paul's going to remember this. They played against Atlanta. Craig, remember Atlanta High School had this great team, and it's 2003.
Okay.
But it's been almost 20 years, and they had some players. They had a quarterback that was...
Jeremy Sanders was really good. He played at Baylor.
But there haven't been many,
No, there's not been many. And now they've got, like 2 or 3 guys in this next class or two that are all Division I, high Division I offer guys, and now obviously one of them committing to Texas. So... Man, I don't, every once in a while you just have that class that there's just a little extra talent, and they are certainly in that mode right now at Marlin High School.
Yeah, that's incredible because they have a couple of others that are getting we at the summertime mentioned their trips or whatever. All right, because of the hurricane, I saw this. I know that Ida has blown away parts of Louisiana and other parts as well, and it's unfortunate again. Here's a hurricane tip that I never heard of. Even if you have horrible weather and you lose electricity, go to the convenience store and get bags of ice, which you might do anyway, and put your drinks, water, whatever, in your washer and fill it up with ice.
That's actually brilliant. Yeah. I would never have thought of that.
Hey,
but that's
Armstrong,
brilliant.
Can you? It's at Sean SHAUN, and then I'm going to give you the numbers. When you're ready, I want to show you this picture. 918-49952. Sean at 918-49952. I saw this yesterday, and it's so random, but it was because of Ida, and it makes so much...
on Twitter?
Yeah, it's on Twitter.
Sean did not change the username he was given when he signed up for Twitter, obviously.
SHAUN 918-499... I think that's 49952.
I wonder how long it keeps it cold.
That doesn't exist.
Okay, hold on.
But that is a very interesting idea. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, maybe it's 498. Well, it doesn't matter. But you think about it. Get a couple of bags of ice. Paul, put your whatever's in the washer. Mm-hmm. And what does the water do when you put it in this rinse mode? It, of course, goes spitting out a hose into the wall, whatever. But if water leaks, if you have water at the bottom of your washer, you know what it does? It just drips through that hose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't get on the floor.
Yeah. I think you'd be fine. I wish I had known this when I was in Florida experiencing hurricanes at breakneck speed, but
the more you know.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
That's more than a couple bags of ice, but point taken.
It looks like it's a pregame for a football game, but you can see there's like a soda. But that's a brilliant thing to do. That water, it will melt, and it will go out through the regular, how it happens, the gravity of a washer.
Yeah, cool. What you have to do.
Thank you.
There was one hurricane. I can't remember which one it was. It was Hurricane Charlie. And so, like they said, we're probably going to lose power here in Tampa, which we wound up not doing. It turned and it kind of went south. So, the week before, I spent the time eating all the food in my fridge, just so I wouldn't lose it. I was 23. I had barely any money. I was not going to waste food, so I was eating. Look, I bought a bottle of Heinz 57 sauce. That's going on everything this week. I'm not losing anything this week. And I remember feeling during Hurricane Charlie, I felt so bad.
Oh, I bet
the whole time.
I bet. Yeah, I bet.
What'd you have to eat today? Oh, I had 4 slices of old pizza and a head of lettuce with ranch dressing smothered on it. That's what I did.
Brett McMurphy, he has some of these random lists or whatever. The most graduates per program coming into the fall. Illinois has 29 players who have already graduated. Number 2 on the list is Baylor with 28. Western Kentucky, 27. SMU is in the top 10. It's 25. Auburn is in that list. Arizona State. So there's Iowa State, 21. Of course, they got a very experienced team at Iowa State.
Oh, yeah. I just saw their
Matt Campbell
depth chart, and I think there's maybe a couple of spots where there's not a senior or a junior starting, but it's pretty much all seniors. Even the 2 deep is senior versus senior. They're incredibly experienced, but Matt Rule deserves a lot of credit for that note right there. And then Aranda for taking the torch and continuing on with it. They have graduated a lot of guys. They've got a lot of super seniors this year, which is part of the reason why there's so much optimism. But, of course, a lot of teams have super seniors this year. But, when you look at Baylor's, it's defensive wide. It's a lot of guys on offense as well as far as their skill and playmakers go. So that's the reason for optimism, along with the full offseason and all that. We'll see how much it actually helps them, but it's good to know that when the careers come to a close, there's a lot of those guys, if not pretty much all of them, that will have that degree and will be able to go on and do something with it.
All right, it's 541, 254, 339, 1122. You want to jump into the text a little bit here?
Sure.
There's still a lot of people, a lot of you, we appreciate you, a lot about realignment. I thought maybe after we got to the first week of the season that would calm down, but so many people affected by it. There are a lot of you asking about what happens to Group of 5 conferences if, in fact, some of them are rated. Here's from Joe in Spain. Paul?
España.
If adding 4, UCF, Brigham Young, Houston, San Diego State, the Big 12 should take San Diego State for the exact same reason. The Pac-12 should take Houston. If adding 2 more, UNLV, massive market potential, and team number 6 is either Air Force, Cincinnati, Colorado State, or Boise State. That's just a comment. Thanks for Joe. Thanks from Joe in Spain on the text line, or the chat room.
I would like to know from Pac-12 folks who would know better, because I don't know the answer to this. I know for the Big 12, like, they're not picking the top, most ripe fruits off the tree right now. But if UNLV is such an attraction, or a San Diego State, where's the Pac-12's interest in them? What's missing? Because I'm not. I don't know. Like, what's missing? Is it an academic thing? Is it they're not good enough thing? I truly don't know, because those teams obviously make far more sense in the Pac-12 than they would in the Big 12. So I would just like to know if somebody has that answer. I would be curious to know that information.
All right, thank you for the text on that. I don't know.
Because if there's a valid reason why they don't want them, then maybe that plays into why the Big 12 might not want them either, right? Yeah. Or maybe that's reason why you would think if you're the Big 12, like, hey, we can go grab UNLV right now, but are they going to be getting poached by the Pac-12 in 5? You know what I'm saying? So is there something to a UNLV or a San Diego State being a massive money-making, not maybe massive, but, a big money-making brand for you in the future? If there is, then why is the Pac-12, having been open to expansion as soon as a week ago, right? They were still in expansion discussions or whatever. Why would those not be a couple teams that they would want to pull? I can understand, too, if it's like, we already have enough schools in California, which is kind of my point with the whole Texas and Houston thing, is you already have a bunch of schools. But I also know California is not split up, and they don't have, the California version would be USC and UCLA are going to the SEC, and then everybody else is left over. So I do understand there's that difference.
Andrew Miller, Big 12 has little chance of convincing any of the Power 4 teams to join. No, they don't. No. I don't know if there are really any, but there's been a few things. How about this team? And they're not leaving what they have. They'd have to pay multi-million-dollar exit fees first for the right to take a pay cut and going to join the Big 12, which right now is like a life raft in the ocean.
The only conference that has a TV deal coming up in the next couple of years is the Pac-12, other than the Big 12. Like, the Pac-12 is 2023. So, like, theoretically, you could have done something if you were in the power position, but now the Pac-12's in this alliance and voting block and whatever it is, and they've kind of solidified what their future is, and they've gotten with these other conferences and made this determination, at least in the short term. So I don't think that the goal shouldn't be to get teams from another power conference. The goal should be to see if the teams you can get from the rest of the country can make you better enough to get you back up to, money that can sustain your athletic department. Maybe, you're not going to get 37, 38, 40 million, but if you can get 20 to 25, then that you can do that, because if not, you're looking at 10.
Yeah. Yep. You're looking at 10 at best, probably, as well. I mean, that's a massive difference. You're cutting it in half, while others, even where you stand right now, like the Big Ten gets like $54 million apiece, so that you're already doubled up by the Big Ten as it is, and now you're telling me you might be quadrupled up by the Big Ten. So yeah, I mean, very important decisions, and they got to be really smart with who they get. The good news is there seems to be, some attractive candidates, some more so than others, but yeah, I mean, I think we have a loose idea of a lot of the things they're taking into account, but I'm sure there's things that we don't realize that they're taking into account as well. But I'm fascinated by the process, and it has, quieted down now with football starting back up, but this is clearly going to be an everyday type of thing until, the dust finally settles fully.
3-2-1, lots of exciting large fan bases are waiting. Big 12 needs to sell it. Big markets, young, fun. I think it won't take long for more eyeballs to get set on the fact I think you'll see failing otherwise. Join a Power 5 conference. You don't know sometimes what it might be the team that gets to join the conference, the excitement level and what they might bring to the table.
Yeah, for all you know, you're raising somebody up, and maybe UCF, and don't go crazy in the chat or anything. But just as an example, I mean, maybe they run up and go win something major. I mean, not necessarily a national championship, but maybe they fool around and they flirt with the playoff, or they win a Cotton Bowl, or something. I mean, they've done it. They've won a major bowl game before, so. Yeah, I mean, some of these teams I do think are newer and fresher and maybe don't have the tradition or history, but there are some things to like. And I think, if you're a Baylor or a TCU or a Tech, you think about the possibilities of how much can your brand grow if all of a sudden you're not playing games in Orlando's market and you're playing games in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you're playing games in Utah, et cetera. I mean, nationally, you would get a lot more eyeballs on the product than you have during the 20 years of the Big 12, where it's basically been a handful of states all surrounding each other, or pretty much other than West Virginia, close to each other. So, yeah, maybe some more national exposure comes as a result of this, or I would assume it would, amongst maybe some other benefits as well. But I think it would be a fun league if you take any 4 of the teams that have been mentioned and throw them in with these other 8, or you take 6 or 8 of these other teams mentioned and throw them in. However they do it, I think you could have some fun with, UCF TCU, or BYU versus Baylor, which we're actually going to see here in a few weeks. But I'm interested in these teams.
Here's one I like on the text or the chat. I get them mixed up. Stan Graham, the Pac-12 has a better than you complex.
Well, that's
true.
Yeah,
and so does the Rose Bowl.
Is that answering my question of why San Diego State and UNLV are not welcomed right now?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Well, and that would make sense. I mean, to an extent, there is sort of a nose in the air quality that the Pac-12 has. I'm curious about that, because if Las Vegas, I mean, we know the market that Las Vegas is becoming or whatever, but if it really is going in that direction of where UNLV or a Houston's a team that you want to grab, I don't think you can sit on your hands too long if you're the Big 12, but I would want to know why the Pac wouldn't want a UNLV or a San Diego State.
From Juan M., I'm from Houston but live in San Diego. The reason the Pac-12 doesn't want San Diego State's the same reason the Big 12 doesn't want Houston. And then a response from Brian Rothbrock, no, none of those reasons. Academics, not R1, and do not add anything to the conference money. Joe then said UCLA and USC don't want them in the battle against recruiting. They are holding it up.
Let's see. And that was all I was saying with Houston earlier, was that same thing, and I don't know off the top of my head how the academics and all of that stuff are, but
but look, San Diego, when you're looking
at sports town,
it's a pro sports town, and
hanging on.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got the Padres, and that's it.
Yeah. And so they don't have a cool stadium anymore. They don't have. I mean, I'm surprised the Holiday Bowl is still even a thing. I really am, because of how. Whatever it is called now, but the Jack Murphy Stadium has fallen in.
Qualcomm? Was it changed?
Qualcomm, whatever it is. But that stadium is, it's kind of a mess now, and the Petco Park is beautiful. It's or whatever, I guess it's not if it's Petco anymore, but it's a beautiful park. They've got that thing going on, but other than that, are you going to go play at San Diego State Stadium? Is that going to make? If you're a Pac-12, a Big 12, any team, you're going to be happy playing there? Nah, you're probably not. That's a lot of gate you give up as well when you go play football games.
I know
Speaking
you got your
gate,
top 5.
Oklahoma is apparently giving the gate to Tulane.
That's
all that,
just good for them.
which is just a small note. But apparently they've agreed to treat it as though it's a Tulane home game as far as the profits and stuff go, which I think is a no-brainer move. But kudos to Oklahoma for doing that regardless.
And one more tech, that's awesome, and they should. Thought about this: if the Big 12 expands, and they probably will. Why not look at all the group of 5 teams? You have your choice, like a buffet. You pick this one, or you pick an independent like Brigham Young, or you go get UCF from here, or you could do that. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how complicated that would be, whether it's 2 teams, 4 teams, 6 teams, or 8. I feel like it's 2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1. But that's from the text from the 901 to try to add to the conference.
Yeah,
right? We got a break here.
Yeah, there's definitely no limits. I mean, they don't have to go after strictly AC teams or anything like that. They can be selective. I just don't think they've got a ton of time to actually do something if they want to do it. I don't think they're also on a shot clock right now, but they definitely don't have years to make this happen, or they're just going to be the typical Big 12 and be left out in the dust and behind the 8 ball again. So I hope they're being proactive.
Remember when Brigham Young, who was it? Is it Tyson Hill? Taysom Hill just drilled. They played Texas a couple of different times.
I got to know him real well.
Couldn't stop the run. A couple of tough losses back when they went, I think, back-to-back or whenever they may have played. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5 on this Monday. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, they are ramping up for what is about to be their Labor Day weekend sale. But right now they have Make This the Summer event sale that continues through the month of August for another day into tomorrow. 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. Total value is up to $6,250 or 2.9% financing for 72 months plus $2,000 of bonus cash. So you have either or. Ram truck owners are most loyal to any brand, back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. There's also Make This a Summer event for the 2021, the new Grand Cherokee Laredo. Total values of $3,500 or the option of 0% financing for 48 months plus $2,000 in bonus. And then there is this brand new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Beautiful, rugged, third-row seat. And, of course, they have opportunities and options and discounts for you as well. Dealer discounts, of course, disclaimers. See dealer for discounts and details. Offers based on credit requirements. Allen Samuels, Ted Teague and Company on Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driven force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, after daylight yoga, bar classes, bod pod body composition analysis, and registered dietitians, massage therapists, and estheticians, all under one roof where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be part of the change. Your change.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
All right, top 5 things we learned in week 0. Other than the fact that I still hate the name week 0, because 0 is nothing. But since there's only like 5-6 games, I guess we got to stick with that. But number 5, we need some better games for week 0. I know that like there's different rules or things, but like if we're going to have this before everybody starts 1 week early, can we get better games? Anybody with me on this?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel like
well,
a college
remember, Nebraska
weekend
and Illinois were supposed to play in
Dublin,
or something like that. So that game got moved up or same date because they were going to have to travel. Yeah, that was a kind of a, with all due respect to my own personal agony, that was a dud.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I mean, there's only a handful of games. None of them were close. I guess Nebraska, Illinois is probably the closest game actually that there was, oddly enough. But yeah, I mean, week 0, it's just the appetizer before the meal. If anything, it's just a little tease to let you know that it's back. And yeah, there was not a whole lot to take away from the opening weekend.
You know what week 0 feels like to me? You ever walk around the food court and somebody like hands you a chicken on a toothpick?
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Okay, yeah.
Just a little taste of college football, and then we'll get to really snack this weekend. Yeah.
All right, number 4, realignment's still the topic. I mean, the football games this weekend didn't change any of that. And we've experienced that today. In fact, I thought maybe the game starting would like help push that off a little bit, but actually it just kind of reinvigorated it more.
Well, I mean, it's, I try to be of the mindset to just focus on the present as much as possible. I think when you do that, it does help quite a bit. But it's hard to do that when you could be a team that is on its way down a notch. If you're one of these remaining 8, or if you're one of these countless other teams who are being mentioned, I mean, look, a Power 5 invite for any of the teams that we've talked about. I know, I've seen some BYU fans thumb their nose, like, we don't need the Big 12. Okay, fine, then whatever. But I can guarantee you that these other schools who don't have the benefit of an entire religion behind them and a TV network and all that, they would absolutely kill to be in the Big 12. So with that dangling out there for these fans, I mean, yeah, you're going to get excited about the games on Saturday, but you're like everybody else. You want to know what the future's like. What do conferences look like? What does college football look like? And is my team potentially ranking higher because they're now playing the biggest level of all? I would have a hard time concentrating merely on games if I was a Houston or UCF fan as well.
Yeah. Number 3, and this is a positive note, San Jose State with Nick Starkel could be really interesting. Look, they're not going to beat any big boys, I don't think, but Nick Starkel, who left A&M because of Kellen Mond and left Arkansas because of Ben Hicks, now at San Jose State getting a shot, and Super Senior could be interesting, and he's got a little bit in his neck, like Smokey likes to say, likes to talk a little trash, gets, when Tate Martell, fired a shot across his bow about, the in San Jose State, they could be one of these interesting group of 5 teams that maybe makes a little noise this year.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, they got some good players, and obviously a guy who is on his 3rd school in Starkel in 5 years. He's played in the SEC twice with 2 different teams. So, I mean, the dude's got tons of experience now at this point and has to be one of the better, I would think, FBS quarterback, or would that be FBS?
Yeah, FBS, but group of 5. Yeah.
Group of 5, yeah. He's got to be one of the best G5 quarterbacks.
All these damn names.
I know, it's so hard. I don't even know
college football.
Yeah, but he's got to be amongst that crop of quarterbacks one of the best, I would think. And so, yeah, we'll see what the Spartans do.
All right, number 2.
By the way, you mentioned Tate Martell. Yeah. Total non-factor.
Yeah.
Total non-factor.
Yeah. Number 2, people should not get too excited about UCLA. Look, I knew they beat Hawaii. I knew they beat them pretty soundly, and I know that Chip Kelly has more veterans on his team now, but Let's just wait and see before we oh, look what Chip Kelly's done. He beat Hawaii.
I want to follow up on Tate Martell real quick. UNLV announced either sophomore Doug Brumfield or sophomore Justin Rogers will be at starting quarterback. Freshman Cameron Friel will serve as the team's third-string quarterback. He's not even listed on the depth chart at UNLV right now. I don't know what that means or why that is. But on UCLA, yeah, I'm waiting. I mean, that was a good win to start the season, but I'm not completely all in with the Bruins just yet. But definitely keeping an eye on them, that's for sure.
They are... I just have too many memories of them. They have beautiful uniforms. They have an incredible campus, great scenery, atmosphere, all of that. But I don't trust them at all.
And number one, Scott Frost hasn't changed anything at Nebraska.
No, actually, he has. It's changed it. It's even worse.
It's worse?
It's worse.
They look the same to me.
No, it's worse.
Why is it worse?
Because now you're 4 years into worse.
Okay.
It's like, what's the definition of sanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, they suck.
It's not good right now.
I get to bury all that. I buried it. I thought I buried it late Saturday with text to you guys, and you've brought up the scar. You peeled it back. But I'm done. After today, we won't even hear. We will not mention them. Tim Vermeer, Iowa Cyclone, oh my God, Iowa Hawkeyes fan. You guys better run the table. I'm coming.
I do think, and the joke has been, Nebraska is got in trouble for extra practices, and this would it be. But I will go one further. Like if you arrested me for robbing a bank and asked me how much I got away with, and I was like $2. That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
I had $2.
By the way, going back to UCLA, we're going to learn something about them pretty quick this weekend because LSU UCLA is coming up. I don't know how good LSU is going to be either, but that'll at least that'll be a nice little game to kind of see from both schools sort of where they are. So that'll be fun to get that. But with Nebraska, I mean, I've said it again. I'm shocked that Scott Frost has had the struggles that he's had. I was a believer that he was going to go there and they were going to have the big reunion, and it would take him some time, but they would at least be exciting. And it is one of the most poorly coached, just mistake-ridden teams that I've seen. So, season's long way until the end of it, even though you're 0-1. Let's see what they do the rest of the way. I mean, I hope that he can turn it around and hope that he can carve out a niche there, but I just don't see it right now.
We have given them way too damn much time today. And so let's forget about them. They don't exist. So that's the definition of irrelevant, but I feel better because of it. Thanks to Mitch Sherman, Alexis Cubitt on Clemson. Thanks to Baylor football coach Dave Aranda. Mac Rose will join us, Baylor AD. Try to get some information on that so-called subcommittee on expansion, whatever he could possibly talk about. We will focus in on other programs this week on games including Georgia, Notre Dame, and Florida State, and others that start the week of college football, the first full weekend. For Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims, the elitist, who now has his own personal email and business email. That was something that was a part of today's communication. I will never adhere to that. Armstrong did come in earlier today for me, so thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Thank you. Those who text the chat and also the calls at our amazing list of sponsors as we hit the first full weekend of college football. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.